Yeah, that makes sense. All I read is like statutes, like cases, right? It's not different.
You can also take all of them.
Yeah, I guess. I'm taking a really good. And his profile picture, you can already do like he has like a little. Did you get all your marks? Yeah. Wait, where do you want to go? What? Okay.
Yeah.
He's gonna make us read. Yeah.
As in, like, do you think I should let it stop? Or do you think it's kind of like part of entering your career? Like,
No, that's
For the purposes of announcements, does any individual seek recognition? State your name for the record.
But what I'm saying is, realistic.
Derek Trump.
Derek Trump, you're recognized.
You get on the PC, you put in. That is the one. You get out. You can't. Or if you don't want to, it's what you want. What do you want in DC?
Hello, hope everyone's having a good night. So for those who don't know me, my name is Derek Trump. I'm a representative on Ways and Means. So currently, I'm currently working with Senator DeVady over here. And we're, sorry, clerk. Sorry. And we're working on writing a report to identify how SGA structure and responsibilities have shifted over time, as well as identifying potential amendments to improve the overall efficiency of the SGA. We have a quite ambitious deadline. Hopefully, we'll finish the report by the end of the semester, along with the first sets of amendments. And we're currently looking for anyone interested in joining our unofficial working group. It's a great way to learn more about the committees and the bylaws as well as the history of the SGA. So if anyone is so interested, just feel free to reach out to any of us.
Would you like to share your email?
Yes, dgtrump@umass.edu.
Any other individuals seek recognition? Say your name for the record. Morgan Kim. Morgan Kim is recognized.
Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Morgan Kim. Just want to make IDC, Sean is organizing just like a fund to the birds, like especially for like the vacancy people who might have just met, or like want to meet some people who are, you know, in basic positions. It's like that's each other. That's it. Thank you so much. Oh,
Questions?
just right after the meeting today. If right,
I went to the last one and it was a great time. Very fun. All right. Does any other individual seek recognition?
I met a lot of people.
All right. There being no further individual seek recognition, I will take the call. Amaratis unfortunately has the flu. So all right. I also have to work the presentation. Adeni. Here. Adela.
Here.
Bauman. Here. Beltrami. Beltrami here. Black. Broski. Broski absent. Martisova.
Here.
Present. Excused. Chamu.
Yeah.
Cook. Present. Marco. Marco present. Tommy. Tommy present. Martin. Martin present. Betty. Betty present. Chiso absent. Gatto. Here. Present. Jermaine present. Equilase now. Present. Aaron Adani. Callahan. Present. Absence. Emery. Emery present. Jermaine. Jermaine present. Kim of the class of 2024.
Here.
And present. Kim of the class of 2025.
Yeah.
Present. Kumar. Kumar absent. Absent. Lay. Lay present. Quartz. Ford present. Molesky. Molesky present. Mari. Mari present. Manda. Manda absent. Zondo.
Here.
Zondo present. Mello. Mello present. Nashi. Nashi present. Evans. Here. Evans present. Win. Win. Present. Onyeka. Absence. Oh. Onyeka present. Pastorello absent. Patel. Absent. Duck. Duck absent. Fan. Probacor. Probacor present. Raven. Raven absent. Brew. Brew absent. Sarna. Here. Sarna present. Sharma.
Here.
Sharma present. She.
Here.
She present. Shayman.
Here.
Shayman present. Silveria. So they're present. Sampling. Now present. Tran. Absent. Trung. Trung present. Burma. Burma present. And Walker Weaver. Walker Weaver present. Oh. All right, with 45 vote members. All right, the minutes from the last Senate meeting were sent out to all 48 hours prior. All right, minutes stand approved without objection. Right. Does there exist a need to call in session the committee of the whole? For multiple reasons. All right. Well, these stand in recess. The whole shall be in session to discuss Red Love Not Hate tabling sign-up, SGA audit presentation, and the minimum guaranteed amount capping discussion. Referring to Title 2, Chapter 31, Section 9. The committee of the whole is called into session. All procedure is suspended. I invite up Chair Onyeko. Also. Okay.
Okay, hi guys. So in case you are not aware, so just check our Instagram. We have a couple infographics up to learn some new things about racism. And basically on Friday we're having some tabling where basically we're passing out resources and stickers to promote like racial justice and social justice. And we need help. Basically they're gonna be just 30-minute time slots if anyone wants to sign up on Friday from 10 3 o'clock. It'll be simple just passing these out. Obviously smile. So is anyone interested? Please. What time?
Give me 1 sec so I can put names in this.
Very low stakes. You just gotta sit there. Oh wait, you said what time? 1 to 1:30. Dale? 2, what'd you say? Okay. Thank you guys. Since you're setting up, I'm gonna give you the information.
I can do 10:30.
Come on, guys, let's fill up this whole thing here. Esther worked very hard. Yeah, Cass. Esther and Sojak worked very hard to set up this entire week. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Oh, wow.
Please spell your name. Yeah. Okay. Is that correct? Oh, it's not up there. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay.
12:30 to 1.
Mary, how do you spell your name?
That should be fun. Thank you guys.
All right. Yeah, it's on Zoom. I wonder. Hear me? Am I muted? Oh, you can hear me. Okay, wonderful. Right. So next up for committee of the whole is SGA audit presentation by Lindsay Cook and Adam Cebulski. I'll now invite them to introduce themselves to the group. Oh, yes, we can hear now. Can you hear us?
You can.
Okay, we can hear you. All right. You wanted to
Are you able to see our slides?
We can. I have to make you co-hosts. Lindsay, are you the one screen sharing?
Neither of us are screen sharing, just the slides that we submitted.
Okay. I think it might be easier for you to screen share from Zoom now.
Okay.
I could pull them up. I do have them up. Just say control your own presentation.
Adam, would you prefer screen share or do you want me to?
Yeah.
All right, are you able to see the presentation okay?
Yep.
Well, thank you all for having us. We're going to start with some introduction. Lindsay and I will both go ahead and introduce ourselves, and then we'll tell you a bit about the project. So we'll get started. So my name is Dr. Adam Spolsky. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Transforming Forward. My work focuses on helping leaders and organizations navigate change. Our motto is change starts here. I've spent about 20 years working in and around college campuses and student affairs with a deep focus on strategic stakeholder engagement, data-informed decision making. Just as a fun fact, in my career, I was the leader of an tech startup that developed the precursor of what we now call campus polls. This was several versions ago. So it's exciting to see how that's evolved on college campuses over the years and how you all are specifically using it. Over the years, I've also had the opportunity to advise and collaborate with multiple SGAs, both as their direct advisor, as a senior partner. So I'm excited to be here with you today. And then I'm also joined by Dr. Lindsay Koch, who's a member of our team. Let her introduce herself.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Lindsay Koch. I use she, her pronouns. And I am delighted to be part of this project as our lead consultant. I work as a consultant executive coach as part of Transform Forward. And I have had the pleasure of working with SGA on this SGA process. So similar to Dr. Cebulski, I spent close to 20 years working on campuses in higher ed and most specifically in student affairs. I also have had the privilege of serving as an SGA advisor on multiple campuses and working with student leaders throughout most of my career. So it has been a real treat to spend time working with student leaders and getting to see all that you all are up to. So excited to be with you all. Dr. Cebulski and I have worked on multiple projects at Amherst, and so we are disappointed that we could not be all in person. Was the plan. Weather was not on our side. We can kind of visualize where you all are, how you spent time on campus in your building. So we're excited to be with you all this evening, albeit virtually, and excited to share more about the project that we are working on.
Perfect. So just a little bit of background about our organization. Like I said, organizations and leaders experiencing change. We always say whether that's things about or on them. We have three primary verticals. One is consulting. We do a lot of organizational effectiveness, program reviews, organizational audits like this one. We have a whole executive coaching and development arm, as well as doing individual economic training on particular topics related to our subject matter expertise. So we're excited to sort of combine all of that in this project experience with SGAs. So a little bit unique to us, we conduct research with our staff publishing in the spaces that we are directly talking about. That is cooperation, efficiencies for universities, student engagement and advising. So you have the folks who are regularly interacting with and doing the original research. All of our folks that are related to this project have worked with SGA. And so we're excited to see everyone's participation in the project as we're moving through. And then, like I said, we focus a lot on, and so you will see a lot of us talking about management techniques, understanding how you all and the students generally adopt and accept or resist change, especially as you all are thinking about potential changes for operations.
So we want to go through an overview of the scope of work, to give you a sense of what this project entails and all that you can expect. So we have spent time working with the leaders of SGA, with some of you are specifically with Michael, with the SGA president, Colin, trying to make sure that we cover the basics of all that we are looking for. Go over our work and let you know a little bit about what an audit is. So we have used the term SGA audit with this campus, but we also regularly call these processes organizational effectiveness studies. And so just like it sounds, when we do an organizational effectiveness study, we try to use a structured approach that really takes evidence-based practices into account to review an organization's processes, procedures, and make sure that they are aligned and that an organization is getting the most out of what they are doing in terms of working towards their stated goals. So this is designed to help organizations facilitate all they do in a more strategic and streamlined way. So one of the major aspects of what we are doing right now is what we call our stakeholder engagement process. And so that typically includes focus groups and small group interviews or one-on-one meetings. Take information from those who utilize it over time. So we engage with anybody that is considered a stakeholder as part of that stakeholder engagement process. For our SGA audit, we are specifically looking at how your student activity fees are structured, fiscal responsibility, the budget allocation, the disbursement process, looking at your fees and funding, sustainability, making sure the Constitution and bylaws are being followed and are utilizing best practices, and making sure that all of the values that you all have are being implemented by your processes. We also do a campus visit, which was like we said, supposed to be today in person, today, tomorrow, and through Friday. But we are doing all of that virtually, and then we will be back to campus at the end of this project to wrap up, share our final findings, and work through some recommendations.
So we just quickly wanted to share a little bit about what the project timeline looks like. Some of you have been engaged already. Some of you will be engaged over the next couple of days, just to give you sort of a bigger picture of what's happening. Our audit or organizational effectiveness study has four reasons. The first one is discovery and benchmarking. Second is then we move into analysis and triangulation, and then final reporting. And so all of these come together. They're not entirely sequential. Part of them are happening, overlapping each other in conjunction with each other, especially as you learn more about the organization through the stakeholder engagement. We may look for additional documentation, doing benchmarking at the same time. So you'll see them overlap. So for our initial phase, the executive has been super helpful in doing a lot of discovery for this project in terms of we've set up a shared drive. They've been uploading a lot of documentation and artifacts to that shared drive. We undergo a quantitative analysis of all those documents, as well as conducting benchmarking of peer and aspirant institutions, other SGAs, have a similar governance model. And so we work to better understand the how they relate to the national landscape. We also employ our staff's expertise in working with government to sort of triangulate all of that information in phase 3. All to make sure that nothing feels arbitrary in this really effective review all the information that is available as part of the project.
So I described already a little bit what we do in where we make sure that anybody who has, like I said, a stake in what SGA does has an opportunity to share input about the current processes, about ways that they may be able to see efficiencies in their lives, to share that information with us. So that's what the focus groups, small groups get at. It's an opportunity for people across campus to be able to share their input with us in that phase 2. So that's the phase that we are in right now, where we are engaging those who work directly with SGA.
And in phase 3, we bring all of that together. Typically, we look at the amount of codes that are coming out of our analysis. We are most often employing hundreds, if not thousands, of individual tools as part of our policy and implementation analysis. Typical would be about 80% saturation, so that means we're covering about 80% of the potential information that could be gathered as part of this. We actually utilize a research framework. So we are reaching the 94% saturation for our qualitative and of analysis. And that makes sure that we're not leaving out any outliers, considering minority opinions in terms of what's coming up in frequency for the analysis that we're doing. So we have a pretty rigorous method in terms of our analysis and triangulation to make sure that you all have all of the information that you have. So that is some of the information that we've collected that will continue after the engagement that we do, and we'll continue to primarily happening in the month of March. As we think about this project wrapping up by this semester.
The project culminates with phase 4, which is our final reporting phase, and that's where we take all the information that's been gathered through the document collection phase, through the stakeholder engagement phase, and then using that rigorous process for analysis and manipulation, we use all of that to try to get at the heart of what we see as recommendations for moving forward, and that's presented in a final report to, in this case, both SGA leaders first and then to campus. And so we share that report and share what we suggest and what we found in the process. All right, so what's happening right now? Here we are. You all, even though we will not be on, we will still be with you for your fellow students, or staff members who are engaged in SGA processes for the next several days. So we will be conducting small groups and small group meetings and groups, as I mentioned, with groups across campus that have a stake in SGA. So that will include SGA senators who will have a chance to participate. Many of you have already signed up. We are excited to see you all. That will include board SGA leaders, include some RSO organization presidents to hopefully engage them in their interaction with SGA. We'll be meeting with advisors as well as some key campus staff who support SGA, specifically funding, as well as the advisors. And so it's a broad group. We're excited to get to hear from many different voices and really try to gauge as much as we can about what's working great and then ideas for improvement. And as I mentioned, a lot of what we will do is spend time in small groups and focus groups. We do have 2 focus groups set aside for SGA senators. There are still a handful of spots left. So if you have any availability tomorrow, there are 2 spots that we would love for you to join. If you want to jump to that, spots are limited because we utilize a process that is very small to make sure that they are on that focus group phase. So we would love for you to fill up those remaining spots if you. So we do want to make sure that you have to engage with us. So after we're there, we will provide an email address that we wrap up our stakeholder engagement interviews that we have scheduled for the next couple of days. We'll provide an email to to our SGA leadership. If they want to share that with all feedback to us, that's definitely something that can happen. No, there's no way for us to engage with every single stakeholder in this process. So be on the lookout. In a couple weeks, we may have maybe additional opportunity for you all to engage with us, even though we may not be able to participate in those all the smaller groups. We love your input. So that'll definitely be a way that you can engage with us. Adam, is there anything else that you'd like to add? Right, Michael, is there anything else that you need? We originally planned to take questions, but we're not sure if that format, but we're happy to take questions if that's possible.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. We could try, have like things that are
Okay.
what you all are hearing. Does anyone have any questions? And maybe I could switch over the computers.
Yeah, we're gonna do the whole room.
Yeah. I could do like a.
We could be flexible. It did seem like we were able to hear on the microphone. So even if we can see I think we can still hear.
Might be tricky for the visuals. No, I'll stick with audio.
That's all right. No worries.
Darren.
Hello. So in the presentation, you mentioned that this will take roughly 5 months, and there'll be, I think, as mentioned, 2 trips on campus. Is there any sort of plans to meet with students in the general body to get their feedback, or is this going to be SGA club advisors and SGA members?
So the initial focus for the stakeholder was days are really centered around the students who engage with SGA, either formal leadership positions on SGA through being leaders in their own organization as part of the RSO or ESO process, advising administration and staff. If we do that, we will reconvene the executive board to determine what the general student might look like. We've already done some of that previously with University of Sackville. So we've engaged in general student focus groups, surveys, one interview just last year. So we do have some context from general students, but we want to better understand the experiences of the folks engaging over the days before we determine what that strategy might look like.
Hi, thank you for presenting. I'm wondering, we have elections for the new leadership coming up. I during their jobs yet, but I'm wondering if there's how much this audit is going to be based on the people that are here right now, and how much is going to be just for things that we're
I'm not sure I caught the very last sentence. Would you mind repeating that?
So I'm just wondering, since we do have kind of taking leadership, how much of this review process is going to be based on the people that are here right now versus structural things that are going to continue.
Yes, that's a great question. So our current focus is more structural and less on individuals. So we're not doing a deep dive into individual processes and policies. And so we're currently in the current leadership, but if our process past that time, which I believe that there are new leaders, engage with those leaders once elected, or if our findings encourage us to continue engaging with specific members of committees, or if there's additional information that we need to gather to refine the recommendations that we make. Those who identified as kind of key stakeholders that need to be engaged with for those newly elected leaders.
Especially knowing that some of the recommendations may need to occur over time. Some we will be able to accomplish by the end of this term. But in other cases, we are going to come back a year, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year transitions as you think about the process for policy. So we want to make sure that we're actively engaging like Dr. Koch said.
This is sort of like a follow-up question. I just wondering how, like, you mentioned that, like, looking at how deep in the bylaws you guys would be, like, looking through whether it's this year's bylaws going back further, as well as if there be attending any meetings as well.
So in terms of the bylaws, we do a pretty deep dive, a comparison of best practices, but also what's happening nationally. So how you might handle elections or how you handle budget or RSS. So there will be a deep dive into multiple components of the bylaws, as well as we are very familiar and understand the context of the enrollment document, how that relates to your key governance model. To your second part, we part of similar to developing a strategy about engaging individual students, leadership over the course of the next 2 days. But part of the conversations that we have with you all, the executive and the staff, will help us better understand if there are additional committee groups that we need to meet with more specifically to better understand practice to implementation or intent for impact. So part of this is a fact finding and discovery as well to determine what that might look like.
Yeah, and just to add on and clarify, maybe what might not be clear is that our stakeholder engagement won't be bound just to the next 3 days. We will continue to engage, especially if we gather information like Wolski said that encourages us to meet with a specific committee in addition to those that we've engaged with already. So yeah, we'll continue stakeholder engagement throughout in advance of our formal reporting.
Jacob.
Hello. I just wanted to have a couple of questions here. Just focused on what right now. Discovering benchmarking this process, it seems as though the timeline that you provided that you have completed this. So I'm just curious. I know some senators might know what benchmarking is. You've got a pretty good description here, but I'm curious as to what you've been benchmarking the organization against and what that process has been.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for asking. We can outline specifics. So we start with any benchmarking process with peers and aspirants. So the peer institutions and aspirant institutions. So to clarify, that is those institutions that the university has identified as their peers. So institutions that are similar to UMass Amherst. Often that's going to kind of take into consideration institutions as well as regions. So often there may be institutions that are somewhat different, but that are located very similarly. So those may be considered peers in some of those ways. And then aspirant are institutions that Amherst has identified that they either in whole or in part have a desire to be more like growth. Maybe that's institutions with a higher retention rate or higher graduation rate or any number of factors that an institution might decide that they would want to grow towards. And so those are used pretty regularly in both for accreditation, for ranking, and also for institutions to try to help them who all they are looking to as peers as so we started out there. In terms of this specific engagement, I have looked at institutions that have a similar organization for SGA. So that may be specifically public institutions, large public institutions that have their SGA similarly. I know we looked at the University of Florida. We looked at how we that list.
Yeah, we have older UC, in Texas Tech, Kansas State. So we have it looks like about 20 organizations we're benchmarking against. And like Dr. Cook mentioned, in some cases we're looking at it similar to their institution or their institutional governance model is similar. In some cases we're referencing very specific aspects of them. So looking at their advising model and what the relationship with SGA, looking at the way that the student fee is handled and how it's dispersed through SGA. That all is under SGA's purview. So for you, have agencies, you have RSOs, you have student businesses, and some other campuses, all agencies, departments at another campus. So we're trying to better understand some of the so organizations, it's a holistic review and benchmarking against, and others it's a more specific one based on a component that is similar or representative to something you all implemented in terms of your structure of governance.
And while we have done our initial document collection and that process won't be complete. So as Dr. Kowalski mentioned, those kind of start in a sequential order, but they often overlap. So we will finalize the benchmarking after our stakeholder engagement visits have concluded, because during the process we might learn new information that will encourage us to look more deeply at one institution or another maybe that we didn't look at in the same way previously. So our stakeholder engagement informs the finalization of our benchmarking process.
And we do that through a mixture of website reviews with those campuses and the staff and the students who are supporting those efforts, as well as publicly available documents. And so we do it through a variety of artifacts and ways to engage with organizations.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm wondering, I know you guys have that that benchmarking process, your stakeholders before reaching into more areas, but I'm what your expectations are for pieces of improvement, and maybe what some of those concerns were when first being reached out for this process.
Yeah, so one of the initial points that what the financial health of SGA is as it relates to not only your own organizational operations, but also the support you provide to ESOs. One of the particular challenges that you're having is the increased demand of registered student organization, as well as the rising cost of things generally, whether or not the student fees are enough to support what you're hoping to do. It's part of that evaluation, looking at not only the financial practices, but doing some financial what does it look like if you all were to make a decision to increase fees? What would that increase look like, and how should that be utilized in your overall financial health? And then, like I mentioned, the other things are really related to making sure that it's a positive experience, both as leaders within the organization, but that the process and structure are in place to best represent the student body, to engage with student organizations, administration, what additional support or resources you may need from the institution to best fulfill your mission. So it originally started as some financial-based conversations, and so we expanded a little bit to better be a more holistic representation of that experience for SGA. And if it's helpful to know in terms of the SGA Executive Board is the client for the project. Deliverables. It's not necessarily that the university is the primary contact and the primary client. They've been very intentional about making sure that student representation is first and foremost most of the project. And so Lindsay has been the primary contact, primarily with our leadership team to work through the phases of the project.
Second core meaning core 4.
I know this is potentially a little repetitive, be at least better understand it. I know that you are going to be setting up a bunch of orgs to essentially engage with them and see what their issues are. I know that you're working with the SGA and other organizations on campus, but I want to know more succinctly how that's organized. Are you coordinating with agencies to see what they specifically need? Are you reaching out with RSO advisors, the different groupings? Are you reaching out to the MC media and then businesses or business versions of RSOs? How exactly does that work? Because we have a large breadth of RSOs that do many different things on this campus. Some have full-time staff, some don't. The agencies have full-time staff. I'm curious as to how you have organized that and to how the organizations are trying to reach out to hopefully as possible. I'm sure that's what you are trying to do.
Yeah, we appreciate that question. That's a great question, and you are correct. A broad range of registered student organizations or established student organizations all engaged. So to specifically answer your question, we have already invited to have participants scheduled to work with us over the next couple of days. Again, starting with you all are our first stakeholder engagement meeting, and then tomorrow we'll be meeting with your agencies. We are the agency advisors, so you get participation in all of the agencies by working through the advisors. So we're meeting with the agency advisors. We then send invitations to all RSO presidents. We know that there are hundreds of RSOs, so as we share, we will still have opportunities to connect afterwards and to get an initial connection with registered student organizations. We didn't want to have a situation where 5 members of one RSO participated and we had a really skewed experience or input, and so that's why we invited the presidents. So we'll also connect with senators. So all of you, which we know we are probably from other RSOs, but we ask you questions based on your involvement with SGA. We are meeting with finance, so the finance staff members who do a lot of work with SGA. We will engage with the SGA investors, the and then incoming advisor, and we will engage with several members of SGA leadership, and so I guess the core 4, if I use them correctly, and then several other, I believe, committee leaders who are identified, and we are meeting in these committees. Our initial group that we have with, and then as Dr. Cebulski mentioned, that will help us how and who we need to connect with following our first stakeholder engagement experience after those initial engagements. Does that clarify?
So,
and then additionally, one quick addition to that, we have for the last 2 years met with each of the leadership teams for SGA from last year and the year before, and then we've done a deep dive with agency leaders, their student leaders and employees, as well as many students in the agencies and student businesses over the last 2 years. So again, we're going to bring all of that historical information forward to this project as well.
So just to clarify through all of that, you're going to meet with every RSO resident at this campus?
No, we have engaged and invited them not to participate, knowing that we will not be able to meet with every single one. But that we will have our initial conversations as a focus group that will identify if there are additional questions or additional ways that we want to engage a broader number of registered student organization leaders. So thank you for clarifying. We've all been invited, but we will not be participated to engage with every single to RSO in our initial round of stakeholder engagement. There are other ways that we can engage larger members, so maybe a survey or an opportunity for additional information from people. Our initial process starts with a more qualitative, better conversation, focus groups, small groups, and so those will take place over the next couple of days.
And those invitations, are those first come first?
They are, yes.
So is there a process to make that groupings of RSOs are represented? Or is there a chance disproportionately, for instance, more RSOs than say advocacy, say business?
Yeah, that's a great question. Adam, did you want to answer that?
Yeah. So we'll be able to identify they are organizations that we're presenting, so that we'll be able to understand if there is any skew in terms of the categorization of groups, and we can start to identify, like Dr. Koch said, additional opportunities, more passive opportunities like a survey, or more active like additional. We feel like we have a broader representation of groups.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, are we sure? With us right now. Yeah, Jacob.
Just to keep in the same vein, I'm very concerned this turn into a free-for-all within RSOs. I know a lot of them are going to be audit and they're going to start to be scared, and they're not necessarily going to be able, some might understand what it is, and so there isn't going to be representation between the RSOs. So this isn't so much of a question, it's something I want an organization to be aware of, that I think we need to distinctly be sure that representation of different categories. I think that we have the infrastructure with the RSO advisors to find that. I think that setting up meetings with different categories of RSOs and having that be first be a more effective strategy for the both of you to conserve your time and to make sure that there is an equal amount of representation so that everyone is being heard and everyone is getting this information. I'm just very afraid that we're going to have a lot of concerned, angry RSOs, and the SGA is already kind of overburdened with that situation right now.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that concern, and our goal is as well as from a validity data perspective. We absolutely want to make sure that the recommendations that we make are based on statistically sound input during our stakeholder engagement process. So that's something that we take a keen eye to make sure that we avoid any areas where there is a lack of representation. And like I said, we will not end our stakeholder engagement process at the end of this week. It really kicks it off and allows us to determine how to focus and where to focus it on what group. So we absolutely appreciate that. And we really want to make recommendations based on inaccurate or partial data. So we appreciate that, and we'll absolutely do our due diligence to make sure that our data is.
Yeah.
So you mentioned briefly at the beginning that some of the data that you're collecting is used in other research studies. Is this also going to be used in that way? Like, just out of curiosity, how, other than to be presented to the UMass, how?
So my reference to research was that we use research standards for research. So there is an agreement in place that data collected throughout the process. We don't share based information externally. And so everything that is collected as part of this project stays with the project. Deliverables are given to SGA only. And we don't share that externally. We're making part of a broad research effort unless that is part of an agreement and a contract upfront with the organization. That is not part of this particular project. So there's no intention of sharing any information externally.
All right, anything else? If there are no more questions, we'll move on to the agenda. Okay. All right, well, thank you for joining us.
We appreciate the opportunity to connect with you all. And as we said, it's important that weather prevented us from being here. We hope you all stay safe in the weather coming your way. I would ask Michael if it's possible, maybe I can bring Rex up. If you want to pull that QR code back up and get part of your presentation, just to make sure senators have the ability to sign up. We would love to see those full. Like I said, we kick that off with as much input as possible. So with that, we will say best of luck to you for the rest of your meeting. We're encouraged to see student leadership in action. A great job with keeping that good. So we will let you keep rolling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The presentation that was just presented is in the same, but I will be displaying it at the end of the meeting. So it's there. All right, I'll now invite up President Humphries for the minimum guaranteed amount and capping discussion.
Hello, everyone. How we all doing tonight? So, is going to greatly improve the way that we do our finances. So please, what we're going to do is we're going to do a presentation. I suppose I can take some questions during the presentation. However, maybe there will be plenty of time after the presentation for your questions as well. There's also going to be a feedback survey that you can fill out. So if it's not a burning question, maybe save it till the end. Kind of got pretty caught up a couple times during the presentation, but there's going to be plenty of question and answer time, and also there is going to be a survey at the end. You can scan the QR, fill out as well if you prefer to go through that way. So, all right, so we're going to get this thing started. So the current state of affairs, as you're probably aware, we are not in the best financial situation. This has been the result of numerous factors that have piled up over the years. So essentially, our current processes are not sustainable. It's something that has become abundantly clear. The way that we currently do our finances is not long-term fiscally responsible, nor is it something that can be maintained. That's why we're seeing a lot of the problems that we're facing, as well as pretty severe across the board cuts taking place. So as you know, for the second consecutive year, we're going to see more severe across the board cuts. Without major reforms, we are on track to see the situation continue to get worse. So here is a solution. The solution is minimum guaranteed amounts and funding caps. So to explain the difference between the two of them, because it's a critical difference, a minimum guaranteed amount I'd like you to think of as the minimum number that a group is guaranteed. And this is primarily going to be used for regular RSO and agency allocations. And I'm going to explain what that's going to look like in a second. Whereas a funding cap is going to apply to the emergency fund. That's going to be a straight limit. Oh, next slide. So here are just some examples from similar institutions. A lot of schools do caps on their funding. We also spoke to Mr. Farrell, and he said that there's nothing that's not legal about this. This is something that's pretty commonly done in a lot of SGAs. We're actually, not every school just kind of allows like unlimited requests. We we do. So initially, we were considering doing a cap for all groups. We would cap for all processes. Now, however, we did change the way that we were branding this. Rather than doing a cap for regular allocations, we're going to do a minimum guarantee amount. What that means is we were calculating a number every single year. That would be our minimum guaranteed amount. And so we calculated using this formula, and that will be the minimum number that each group is guaranteed to get. Now, every group doesn't have to request up to that amount. If they need less, they can request less. And it would still be subject to the same these processes. They still have to be eligible for funding. They still have to do it properly. All of that would still apply. But generally, the way we kind of came up with our formula is we heard the total revenue, subtracted the operating budget, DF fund, emergency fund, additional required expenses, which for context is like a copyright we have to pay for every year. We pay printer costs. There's an operating budget, but there's like a copyright we pay. A couple other things that we pay. Allocation for reserves. We're going to allocate a little bit of money to go to reserves and a new travel fund. And in all that, you get the funding available for ESOs. A lot of math, but and then of that, 3/5 of that will be available for agencies, 2/5 for RSOs. The reason we said 3/5 for agencies is because agencies require larger budgets. They have student staff that they pay to work for them, so there is a much higher budget that need there. And essentially, think of it this way: we're finding the number of total money that we have left for RSO agencies after we subtract, our operating budget and all these other, funds that we give out, like the emergency. We're talking about the travel fund in a little bit, and then we're taking that number and we're dedicating 3/5 of it to agencies and 2/5 to RSOs. Next slide. So now the way that's going to work is for the agency number, we divide it by 12. When you divide that number by 12, you're going to get the number that would be the minimum guaranteed amount. So that would ensure, so you take 3/5 total amount for agencies and RSOs. You divide that by 12, that gives you the total amount. That is the minimum guaranteed amount for each agency. Now, if every single agency requested exactly the minimum guaranteed amount and got it without any cuts, then in that situation, or without any ineligibles, in that situation, then that would be it. You wouldn't be able to get more money than that. That would be, because all the minimum guaranteed amounts would be filled up, and that would be all the money for agencies, and we couldn't allocate more because we couldn't have more money to allocate. However, in the event the groups don't request money, or if their money is deemed to be ineligible, like if they have ineligible line items or don't meet the budget requirements, we have extra money. The groups can still request over the minimum guaranteed amount. However, they are not guaranteed any money higher than the minimum guaranteed amount of the MGA. That funding will be determined through a across-the-board cut process similar to what we do right now. So there's a minimum amount that every RSO and agency is guaranteed to get if they properly request it, and if they request that much. Anything additional, they can request higher, but they're not guaranteed to receive that money, will be unfairly through an across-the-board cuts process if additional funding is needed. For RSOs, you divide it by the number of RSOs. And then, like I said, yeah, they can request over. However, you're not guaranteed more money than what the guaranteed amount is. That will be determined by across-the-board cuts. Can you click the next slide? However, if you are requesting under the minimum guaranteed amount, then you will not be subject to any across-the-board cuts. So with this, as it currently stands, every single group is subject to across-the-board cuts. It doesn't matter if you request $3,000 or if you request $300,000. You're going to be subject to across-the-board cuts. As a result, we have a lot of groups that are actually inflating their budgets right now. They have figured out, oh, if we by the way, we just heard get any ideas, anybody, but they're figuring out if we request more, we're going to get more. And it's actually really hurting some of the smaller artists, or some of the groups that are requesting smaller budgets. They're getting cut at the same percent as someone who requests a ginormous budget. The more ginormous budgets get requested, the more stuff gets cut, the more you have these small amountages getting cut, because it's an across the board percentage. So if you do 60% cut and you're cutting $300,000 by 60%, versus if you're cutting $3,000 by 60%. In this case, that will no longer happen. Because of guaranteed amounts, that ensures that everyone below that guaranteed amount gets that. While everybody higher, that's all going to be subject to across the board process, so the one that we run right now, because that money, we can't guarantee it's based on the amount of money we have. But if not every group get requests or receives up to their guaranteed amount, then obviously we have extra money that can be distributed, be done so fairly through that process. We also ensure we're not giving out any more money than we can. This would ensure that, again, budget inflation would not be happening anymore. And we wouldn't have to do major across the board cuts process that hurt everybody, regardless of how much money they request. So this would effectively make it a lot more fair, a lot more stable, and make it so that every group gets a fair shot, at least at the. Every group gets a fair shot, and so capping is a little bit different. Difference between the guaranteed amount is you can request over that, but you're not guaranteed over that. The cap system, this is like fine. You cannot request more than the cap. But caps are meant to be used for like the emergency fund or the DIA fund. So example, right now for either of those funds, there's a certain amount that gets dedicated to every year, 125K I believe for DIA, or 100K or 150K for DIA and 125 for emergency. But essentially, as it currently stands, you can put in $50,000. When you have 300 RSOs and you got one requesting $50,000, you're given maybe like what, nearly half of what we have to allocate in emergency funding. So that therefore does not leave money available for other RSOs, because once it's gone, it's gone. So these cap numbers will make it so that groups will be limited to how much emergency fund they can request every semester. They'll be limited at about, we decided that the upper limit will be 5,000 for 2,500 for emergency funding. I am willing to work on these numbers. However, we did leave it open for the chairs of those committees to have discretion to do a lower cap, especially if it's like a high request year, or if the other reason we put that in there is because sometimes we don't have as much money to dedicate to these funds. It's not always 150K, 125K. There may be years where it's much less. In that case, we may have to do a lower cap just because there's less money available. Next slide. So alternative funding sources, another reason we want to finding their own sources of revenue as well. Of course, we do love to give out money. However, there's only so much of it. And under the current process, I feel that by constantly having these across the board cuts on everybody, it's giving people the idea that, we just need to keep increasing the fee in order to get rid of across the board cuts. But we're also seeing groups just continuously requesting higher and higher budgets every year. So when do we stop requesting higher budgets and increasing the fee? Like, when does that process end? So this new process makes it so there's not this, sort of scary cut that's coming for everybody, and it also makes it so there won't be as much like demands to raise the fee, and there won't be people, people will know not to expect to get $400,000. Now, that we also want to promote people doing their own sources of funding. Right now, you can currently fundraise. What we're finding is not all people know how to fundraise. We do provide some resources on that, but we're finding groups either just aren't reading it or the message isn't getting to them. So, on the SGA side of things, we have to do a better job of how to fundraise. We want to make sure we provide the resources for groups to learn, and make sure the services available for them to do so. Another thing is grants. One of the things we want to do is have the Secretary of Technology organize. There's a lot of grants on this university that can be utilized to actually help fund events. For example, I'm on the board for the Community, Democracy, and Dialogue grant. So that's one of many, for example. There are a lot of grants that students can apply for. And then you have membership dues, which is going to require a lot more discussion. I do have a slide on that. I'll put that in there because I don't want that to tank this whole proposal. That is going to be one of the most complicated things to work out. We will talk about that anyway. And then the travel fund, which we're going to talk about. Next slide. So membership dues, like I said, a lot of discussion administrative level oversight of such a process. First of all, if we were to implement the membership system, there would be a strict limit of $25. Groups could not levy a larger fee than that. However, also we can make sure so students that can't afford it, they get a substantial amount of aid, potentially could receive a exemption. However, we don't want students having access to information. So that would be something that would be conducted by administrative units and not by students, because obviously we don't want student groups having that info. So if there were to be membership dues, it would be a completely separate proposal. I'm not going to be proposing this in the near future, but it's something to discuss. There's going to be a lot of processes involved, because if there isn't, because we don't want students having access to information, and we also want to make sure that students can afford to protect. We don't want to be unreasonable. We don't want students who can't afford to pay to not be able to participate. We don't want also levy super high fees. So that would have to be something that would have to be worked out. And again, determining financial need is not something we want students doing. So that's a whole different thing. Don't let that. It's proposed as a possible alternative to the groups to get funding. Other schools, some of the schools do have this. However, it's something that I don't want to tank. This would be a separate thing. Next. Travel fund. So this is a fund that we're finding that a lot of people spend a lot of money on travel, particularly from sports groups. We are currently working on a deal that would result in Recwell actually covering part of the cost for club sports and part of the oversight of club sports, which would actually take a huge burden off of the SGA and would allow club sports to be better supported. But the reason we established a travel fund is because we have groups of travel, and that's one of the most costly things. So as we enact these new MGAs, we figured we'd also offer a travel fund, which would have a cap on it. For groups that were looking to travel, we could have a for it, like a little bit of an extra boost for them. One of the things that we've actually found is a lot of groups, a lot of schools do have travel funds. This is a pretty common thing. So this is kind of like another way that, because the groups that will probably get impacted with your system the most would be the groups that travel a lot. So this would be a way to kind of make up for that. Overall, we do want to encourage groups to start, raising some of their own revenue, because ultimately that's the way a lot of universities work. It's not common for schools to just give out, tons of money to, like large amounts of money to groups. It's something that is semi-unique to us. A lot of group schools do have limits. A lot of schools have a lot stricter limits than those that we are proposing. And they expect their groups to raise at least their own cost, Ultimately, what it comes down to is, you might say that's not fair, but the only way we can keep up with the growing demand would have to be to raise tuition. I don't think anybody really wants to do that. So, next. Club sports, there's just a little note in here that this will be taken during the club sports process. First, that we're working on transferring groups on well, but the portion of the club sports funding that is still under the SGA these processes. Next, implementation. So there is going to be a little bit that still get approved. We're not voting. Right? There's still work that needs to be done. Some of this would be the MGAs and caps written into the bylaw. There some discretion for like the chairs again to kind of determine what those numbers look like, but it would be written into the bylaws, and we'd have to pass bylaws through Senate. The way there's different implementations. So we're already in an apportionment cycle, and we recognize that, nor do we do not want to throw off the current. So the minimum guaranteed amounts would not take effect until the point. So next year, when Ways and Means does its budgeting process, if this is passed, it would follow the new MGA format. That would not apply to this year's allocations. So that would not go into effect for the process that's happening right now. As for emergency funding and DIA fund, that would go into effect fiscal year 2026. What that means is that would not affect any of, obviously we've already started distributing those funds this year. But on July 1st, when the new fiscal year starts, those caps will be implemented. So the caps for those funds will be implemented this year, because that would be the new year. Whereas the MGAs will technically be the following year, because that needs to be allocated the year before. We're already in the process. Ways and Means is already well underway with that, and we don't want to go into areas. Oh yeah, you have to change your whole process now. So it's going to be very clear in the language of these motions when they're going to be travel fund also won't be available until 27, so can't into effect. And then we are going to have something language in there surrounding a mandatory reserve allocation, because we believe that we need the minimum amount for that, because we believe that it is important to make sure that we are also saving some of our money and in case of emergency circumstances. Next. There was also a part in there, I think I missed it, but Dylan, Secretary of Finance, I can just explain it, but Secretary of Finance Valerie is currently working to cap the SGA budget. So I knew questions were probably going to come up on this. There is a separate proposal that Bill was working on to cap on the SGA budget that he's going to present within the coming weeks. They're in the process on that. It's coming along nicely. That would limit how much the SGA budget could be. I know there was a lot of problems this past year. I do want to clarify. There are also plans to cap our own budget. It's a bit of a separate proposal. It is a very good proposal, if I do say so myself. So talking about that, it's coming along very nicely. If you have any questions about that, I'd reach out to Secretary Valerie. But I do want to let you know that is coming. Lastly, I just want to talk about some of the current where we are right now. So we have Speaker Flanagan, Secretary Valerie, Chair Statement. We have some of their feedback has actually been implemented into this proposal. So it has been modified since I originally wrote it. Attorney Farrell has been conducted for additional review. I do want to note that we still have to run the final bylaws by him. He was open to a lot of parts of this proposal, and he had some feedback. He didn't. Based on our discussion, we do believe it is very possible, especially given that a lot of other universities do some of this stuff. We'll be working with AG Garbanga and Chair Centenaro to draft those bylaws. I want to make sure that all our bases are covered and make sure that every bylaw that has changed, we don't want to move bylaws. And then right now, where we're currently at is we're having a Q&A in front of Senate. Obviously, there will have to be another presentation, and then AA Ways and Means, the full Senate would need to approve these. Technically, it's a bylaw reform. It's required to go through AA and Senate. Ways and Means to vote on it. Just because they are the that does the apportionments, so we want to make sure that we have, their proposal as well. And like I said, these new systems will be reflected through guidelines, and then I just put the implementations. Put the implementation dates on caps would be effective technically July 1st, 25. And the MGAs would technically be effective July 1st, 26. However, next year when the Ways and Means does the process, that would be end of fall 25 going into spring 26. It would follow this. So before we go into questions, I just want to let people know. we do have a feedback survey. I am going to take questions live here. Provide this as well, and still encourage people to fill it out, even if you're going to ask me questions here. But it's a good opportunity to kind of gauge the room of how people are feeling about this. Very good question. You can either ask questions or provide your own feedback or suggestions. On top of that, I do want to note that I am really, I know everybody. So like, I'm willing to like go back and break things down more. I'm willing to, this is not necessarily a final proposal. If anybody has any suggestions based on what they saw tonight that they'd like to bring to me, we can either talk about it here, or you can come to me after the fact. But we will start taking questions. I see a lot of them. Oh, I can take it? Okay. We'll start with Anaya. Or, sure. Secretary Lombo. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a few questions, but like my first on the SGA, I see that you mentioned that it's the minimum guaranteed amount. And I'm talking about mostly about like agencies. So, like, based on the presentation that Maya gave us last week, there was a bit of different amounts into what agencies request. Like I know some requesting 200K, and I think SLSO was like 600K or something like that, and then there was some other agency like 30,000, let's say. So now, if we do like this minimum guaranteed amount, which is supposed to be for all the slows, that how do we expect, like those agencies, how do we expect them to function based on those, now knowing that some of them have payrolls and stuff?
Yeah, so again, the idea would be that we encourage agencies and not overdo that. I would have to look again to see what discrepancy between what change requests, see if maybe there is a better way to do this potentially. That's something I would have to review. However, again, the idea is that we try to enough to operate, and if we're unable to do that, then we probably won't. Because like, it's under the current circumstances, it's the same amount, it's just being split up slightly differently. It wouldn't be much different than I think it would be cuts. However, I do want to look back and see if there were major discrepancies between these agency requests. If they have to take that into consideration.
Okay. Now leaning towards like more RSOs. I've also like asked around to like other schools like how they're allocating budget as well. And one of the main things that kept coming up was that a lot of the fees, like let's say like you are like police, security and all those stuff are usually linked to universities. But based on like the way UMass Amherst works here, we have to pay for all this stuff separate. And then also like when it comes to like, let's say like when it comes to regulations for like artists that need like food and you request you must pay, that fee is like $10,000, let's say. Now if you put like a cap on all this stuff, then how are they supposed to fund their events, knowing that they can only request $5,000 for TIA per year, then the emergency fund is only 2,500.
Yeah, I would say, first of all, a lot of other universities basis, we should start to look into, because we're one of the only universities where teachers to pay. I think that. So I think we should look into that. I would say, secondly, again, under the current process, groups are getting cut down severely.
Just to build on that, you mentioned that some of these caps are going to be like 1st, 2025, which is in like 5 months. Now, if we can't get those fees paid for university, then what?
I mean, like, again, I think it comes down to where you have a certain amount of money to give out to groups, and that we give out a certain amount of, and then after that, the groups would need to fundraise, groups would need to apply for grants. And, you know, that would be what it came down to. And I think that an equitable way to do that, because as we currently give it, you know, we can give $1,000. So, I mean, you would be able to give out a certain amount, but then after that point, you have to fundraise, you have to go out and get grants. Because otherwise, the only alternative is raising tuition. You know, raise tuition a ton, that is one way to do it. But like again, we have a certain amount of money to allocate. We got a certain number of groups, and you know, I think it makes sense that we are giving everybody a fair shake, and you know, we're not giving cost $100,000 because they heard from their friend that inflated the budget. A ton, you know, a ton of money, where someone requests $3,000 and it's almost like. So, I mean, I think it comes down to we want groups to be self-sufficient, and we're here to provide part of it, but the expectation should be we can provide everything, unless you want to raise tuition hundreds of dollars, then maybe we can have that discussion. But
Can I add on before you answer? Two things quickly is one, first thing with the spring conference at UPC, we're going to see work with Jake Soriano, who's the vice president, and Carly, who's the president, see if we can kind of make a deal forward fiscal year 27, so that they don't always request so much money, so they're requesting $600,000 budget. Obviously, we're going to have discussions on that down the road for the semester. In terms of agencies, for example, like, you know, how impact from this, I don't really agree with that. I feel like they would have more money because through the whole cap that everyone gets, you would have like the next amount of money that would be say $100,000. I'm not saying that's what it is, and probably more or less, they'll just say $100,000 to some math, right? If you take WUMA, which is the radio station, historically they have never asked anywhere near $100,000. And so what we're going to also try to do is work with like service advisors and basically say, all of a sudden there's an agency that's asking out a bunch of money, that doesn't really add up. So, just want to add that.
okay, so we do a lot number of stuff.
Yeah. You mentioned that it is equitable to do this, but like I feel like when we had our presentation in mind, it was like we said, like we don't want every artist the same amount because that's equality and equity compared to equity. And I feel like if we were to go for equality, it doesn't really benefit some groups, especially knowing that every group does not have the same amount of like, you know, participants and all that as well. So
I think you could argue that the current system hurts other groups too.
exactly, but like this system hurts more groups.
So go Julia, DeMarco. Kind of work this way, so look at the audio work.
Wait, are you aware of the work that the RSG subcommittee pretty much have a very similar goal, just in a way that wouldn't impose funding restrictions on USOs that do need funding to operate?
Well, I'd just like to know that we can't tolerate any rude gestures of snapping or anything like let other people talk. It's not your turn to mic. Don't. But secondly, I have not been I've been made aware of those efforts through third parties. Present that proposal to me at this time. But I'd love to hear about it. Someone, you know, I'd love to talk to Senator Tapp.
So I noticed that in your plan, the caps would go into effect 1 year earlier than the implementation of the travel budget and other changes. I feel like without the travel budget, a $2,500 cap on the emergency funding would probably be not nearly enough. Just last week, we had someone ask for, I think, about $17,000 from the emergency fund, the golf. A lot of that came from travel. So I understand that like both the cap and the travel budget were existing at the same time, that might not be such a big issue. But if the cap existed before the travel budget existed, that year, like it would be like not impossible to get the money in, like basically sucking your members dry in order to get very, very high travel.
Well, first I would say that I think we can play around with these dates. I mean, could we start the travel fund at the same time that the emergency fund and the DIA fund get capped? However, I do want to mention the emergency fund is for emergencies and for unforeseen circumstances. You know, we don't want to encourage groups to use the emergency fund unless they absolutely want to. We want them to request the amount of money they need through the budget. Like, problem is, again, like a lot of people kind of just see the emergency fund and go, oh, that's a money that's available. Whereas, like, you know, we do have a vague requirement that has to be unforeseen. But one of the problems that we're having is we have a lot of groups that, again, just kind of rely on that type of money. And we see groups come in year after year, the same groups come through for the same event year after year, a couple of them in 4 years here, and it gets to a point where it's like again, it just comes to a point where, you know, we don't want to encourage groups to be in cases of emergency. We don't want to encourage groups to. That shouldn't be option A. You know, that should be plan B if something comes up that's completely unforeseen. You know, groups are prepared to do this in their budget. But the reason we have the travel fund is travel fund doesn't just have to be funded. This is for any group that would like to have extra travel money, and I'd be open to starting that a year earlier. We'll go,
Sorry, I have one other question. The other question was just asking about how the DIA fund and the emergency fund has been used in past years. Like, has there been times in which we've like completely run out of either, and then multiple other clubs have approached us? Is that why we are considering capping it?
I will hand that one over to Sheriff Damon, who might have more knowledge just past.
Okay, sorry, there's just a lot of points of information that need to be, I think. The question was about DIA and equity. DIA and emergency. I can tell you from past years, emergency has been, we have had historically, we have groups coming in because they have a last minute, they find out about a competition and they find out about it. Well, golf club is a fantastic example. They came in last week. That was an unforeseen circumstance for travel. Travel tends to be a very expensive line item request. And when benchmarking and looking at other schools, we have found that some schools similar to ours do have a separate travel fund. So that is where this idea came from. And I think that's why we're playing around with it right now, so that the emergency fund, instead of it being exhausted towards, you know, club sports and our cultural groups who travel a lot, we also have Greek orgs that travel a lot. They have a fund that is able to support their needs, and that emergency fund can actually go towards the groups that actually need it. In the past, it has been exhausted on travel expenses. And the groups that come in requesting startup funds, for instance, don't have enough funds because it's a first come, first served basis. So for this year, we have 44 new groups. Only 11 of those groups requested startup funds. But let's say all 44 of those did. Where with the current state of things right now, we probably would not have enough funds to fund those orgs right now as it is, because we have a lot of unforeseen travel circumstances coming up. We want to be able to support all orgs here on campus equally, which is why I believe President Humphreys and Vice President Leone are talking about creating a travel fund, especially given that this is something that has been done at other institutions. I also want to really hone in on the fact that this is a proposal. So we have a bunch of different financial proposals that are floating around. RSG is, and I'm sure Julia can talk about it a little bit more because she does chair that committee. That is another cost-saving initiative that we are working on. So again, we have a lot of different financial proposals that are floating around. I think President Humphreys and Vice President Leone are here. They're presenting to all of you because they want your feedback, they want your buy-in. And you know, at the end of the day, if this is a project that doesn't necessarily fit our school, that's fine. And that is up to us to decide. We are here to represent the undergraduate student body, and we're here to make the best decisions that benefit the undergraduate student body. There are other schools, I'm speaking just from my benchmarking research, because that is also another project that we are doing this year right now. There are other schools that do have ESO caps. I think what the other senators have been saying are very fair points to make, especially since we have 5 different financial initiatives floating around to address the same issue. So I think really what we're asking here is let's get some feedback, let's have a conversation, let's talk about this project, let's talk about this initiative. Does this work for our school? Does it not? Let's come to an agreement on that. If it doesn't, then what does work? Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to really address is the Ways and Means Committee, they are overworked. I think I can very comfortably say that. They're very smart, like our committee right now, very smart. They're working very late hours. I am working very late hours, and it's not sustainable. But at the end of the day, all of us are trying to work together to try and fix things. The other thing I wanted to say is, just to make another point of information, because I know there's a bunch of questions in the room. For agencies specifically, they have mandated expenses that we have to subtract out in your formula. I missed it earlier when you were showing this to me, but we cannot, that part of an agency's operational expense, budget submission includes salaries. We have to cover salaries. That is not optional. So that can't be included in your minimum guaranteed amount if you decide to go through this project. And then just so we can calm down a little bit, because I'm sensing some tension in the room regarding some of the across-the-board cut stuff. The across-the-board cuts are looking significantly better compared to last year. I would like to say that one more time. Across-the-board cuts are looking better than last year. It's not as doomsday as we're saying it to be right now. We were talking about proposals, we were considering worst case scenario, because that's what we tend to do when we're talking about finances. So I just want to put that out there. Yes. Any other questions or points of information I can provide? I'm going to be paying attention, but those are the first four that came up off the top of my head. I just wanted to clarify that for folks. We can take.
I would say too, yes, it is completely accurate, especially because we did do this increase last week. That does improve our situation substantially. So I do want to know, there still is a long-term problem, and there still is a problem. But I also want to just primarily note that I will definitely take that into, definitely going to have to re-workshop the agency side of this to make sure that the payrolls are paid for. Like this is not a final proposal. This is a workshop, and that's why we're here. So I'm going to go Senator Lufuio.
Sorry, so I've got a bit of a long question coming here, but just to fully understand what I can bear with me, there's a question at the end. So I don't know that this necessarily changes the balance sheet at the end of the year. To my understanding, the way that it works is we get our budget submissions, and then say we're $1 million over budget. We implement those across the board cuts, and that sucks for those groups that they all get 30% or whatever it is. But I don't know that this necessarily changes that outcome in any way. I think what it does is you just end up cutting groups larger budgets much more significantly. I'm the vice president of an RSO on campus, Engineers Without Borders. Do a lot of stuff. We sent about 20 people to Africa this winter to build some water infrastructure over there. Pretty expensive getting 20 people over there. I believe our budget was around $60,000. So if we were to get our minimum guaranteed amount, we would be facing a 93% decrease in our budget. And keeping in mind that, already those alternative funding sources we're running into projects. You mentioned a $25 cap on membership fee. I agree with that. I don't want any membership fee. I don't want to have to resort to that to fund my club. That's for students. We'll get less people. We're not even going to get that much money out of it. And here comes my question. So keeping in mind that SGA ourselves, we did not want to resort to alternative funding methods cover our budget and exempted ourselves from across the board cuts, how would you recommend we were facing a 93% budget receipts?
I would note there's some inaccuracies to that statement. First of all, we do not exempt ourselves. Legally, we do have a status as those in agencies, and our process is different. So I do want to first denote that it's not exempt ourselves. It's a legally binding thing when we are in status. Lawyers have confirmed it. Like, this is something that's just. I do want to note that I am hearing the concerns regarding the minimum guaranteed amounts, and given what I have heard here tonight, I do think there needs to be a major consideration as to how we go about this. I do, however, think we still need to come back to address things. A, the fact that yes, smaller budgets are getting cut significantly. B, measures to prevent budget inflation. And C, we need to talk about how we message this better. Because I feel like by everybody thinks there's like a cut going on to every group. What groups are thinking is, oh, well, this is an emergency. It's not normal times that we're having these cuts, and we need to raise the fees and help this cut. Like, I don't think that should be a general expectation, and maybe we have to rethink the path for it. Because, but what I would say is, I think that given where we are in this discussion, I don't know if it's best for bigger groups to go forward with the current formula. So I think we're going to deeply revisit that. Part of this, however, that I do 100% like to see introduced is the caps on the emergency fund. We can do that based on what the past looked like, how many groups we've seen come out, and like how many groups have come after the fact, like after we've run out of money to request movement, but they haven't been able to get their requests. But that's something I think there needs to be some form of limitation on. There used to be a limitation on the that was the case prior to about 2 administrations ago that changed. So that's actually not new. Actually returning to an old policy. And I think those two were things that definitely want to do out. I would like to see, and I'll discuss this with Chair State, I would like to see for the emergency fund how many groups are put per year, and if we have other groups that go after the money goes. If not, then I need to withdraw that one. But that's something we need to actually. Chair State, can you provide context on that? Are you familiar with
Context on what specifically?
Are you familiar if we have more groups that come in on an emergency fund?
Like, after we run out of emergency funds, do groups come in?
Like,
Well, I mean, we always have groups requesting after we're out of money, but we just can't give them money. Because unforeseen circumstances keep happening. But we usually do typically run out of emergency funds around a similar point in the semester. It's always like closer to midway through the spring semester. So it's still at a reasonable point. Sometimes we do have groups coming in last minute requesting startup funds and we can't give it to them because the emergency fund has been exhausted. President Humphreys, I think Secretary of Finance Dylan Bellery wants to provide a bit of information. And there was also something mentioned about one of our agencies that I'd also like to provide information on, just to clarify some of this information floating around in the room.
I'll pass over to Secretary.
Okay. So yeah, I appreciate everyone's feedback, and I just want to emphasize that the proposal is open to feedback from all of you. So please give your feedback on the survey or afterwards, whatever. But I just want to say that again, the SGA has a separate designation, and I'm working on a app for the SGA right now that is getting presented as of next week, so that the SGA cannot raise their or go past a certain threshold of budget approved to the SATF. And I'll talk more about that later, but I want to emphasize that now. So I wanted to say, personally, in my role, I have had many anecdotes of smaller artists who made requests for one event or 2 events a year that like their entire group looked forward to all year, but unfortunately they are not able to fulfill them this year. Because certain groups are requesting half of the entire IC fund just for their one budget. And we have 300. So if every group is investing $100,000, we do not have the money to fund that, and it's there's like smaller artists and supporters who only take one event at the semester who they really look forward to, but they get 90% and they can lose.
Yeah.
All they get.
I do want to go back to her point. I do want to say I do think that there needs to be some form of MPAs, form of that. I do think there needs to be some smaller budgets to stop the constant incurrence of budgets. I do hear concerns. I do hear some of the concerns about some of the larger groups. I do think that it's something to consider during this process. Again, this is why it's a proposed stage. I think we have a great person here, but I do want to go back to people I do understand there are some groups that genuinely just have more events, more expensive events, and more members. You know, I could, but as Dylan said, a lot of experiences with groups, you know, are really losing out because you have larger groups that are, just in general, requesting way over, you know, because they know that so they go ahead and they inflate their budget. And I have heard from people who said they have done this. And as a result, that happens, all these smaller groups, these smaller groups just request what they need. And they don't if they don't hear the word about the cuts that are going on and how people are putting their budgets to avoid it, they're the ones that get screwed in the end. So I do think there needs to be a change to our current system. I do think this provides a initial structure. However, I also understand, based on the feedback I'm hearing tonight, that we need to do something to address the fact that some groups do naturally need more funds than others, and to make sure those groups can get fairly accommodated as well. So we can go back to the drawing board. Perhaps there could be some kind of system that we can come together. I know there's been some suggestions in the past. I don't want to say that it's the open air right now because you know there's also like back and forth. Legal talks about it in the past, but I don't think it's feasible. I'm mentioning them right now. Stick my foot into a cookie jar, but ultimately our timeline for all this is the most milestone. This is the first conversation. So I'm going to go Senator Smith. Oh, fair statement first for a point of information, then Senator Smith.
There was another point made about agencies earlier that I forgot to clarify. We actually did conduct a process where we tried to determine on average, or try to define in financial terms what it means for an agency to be operational from a financial perspective, more because we were trying to see if that option would be better than across the board cuts. It was called level funding, just to be completely transparent. So what we did is we actually we looked at their financial data over the course of 4 to 5 years, and we averaged it out to see what the agencies are requesting and what they're actually using. They use the majority of the money we actually give them, and the money that they were requesting through that level funding option was slightly higher than the amount we would be funding them at this year prior to post across the board cuts for most of them. So that's why we decided to not go with that option, but we do have that data available. The second thing I wanted to say is that there are certain agencies that do not fundraise. So UPC is one of them. It's part of their mission statement. The reason I mention this is because it also makes it difficult for them to engage in some cost-saving techniques on their budget. Our SACO finance team and I had a conversation with their advisor and also their leadership about their budget. We will be having another conversation with them this year, post across the board cuts, and along with the other agencies, because there will probably be concerns regarding allocations that arise, as you can usually do after the Ways and Means process, to encourage transparency. So I think encouraging our agencies to engage in cost-saving techniques, but I want us to be really careful because those conversations have already been had, and they're already saving costs. But their budgets most of them have reduced their budgets significantly compared to last year and are only requesting what they need to be operational. So that is my point of information. That is it. But I heard comments about agencies earlier, and I wanted to clarify that.
So Barry.
First off, thanks, Dale, and anyone else who's working on trying to fix the major problem that we're having with our financial process now. I did have a couple of concerns. Definitely wanted to second the concern with equity versus equality. I think that's definitely something to look into a little bit more. And I also want to talk a little bit more about just expressing that I think the issue with the emergency funding and the reason why we're seeing groups using it the way that they are, speaking as someone who's on the Ways and Means Committee, someone who's requested a budget, and who also does purchase requests for my own. So the process for all of that, for requesting a budget, we did that a year in advance. It's incredibly difficult for our stuff. Having to purchase something 20 days minimum, like letting cycle know, these are just like instances that make it incredibly difficult for RSOs to request and request purchases. So I think that's why you might be seeing in their budget or putting those things in place when they're asking for more. They want to cover all their ground. And so I'm just concerned that putting more bureaucracy in place and more restrictions might be a approach, and maybe looking at using, or I'm not sure what that would look like, but that's just. And then I did have a question. I'm curious as to why this conversation. I know you guys are all on this, but seeing that we are getting consultation with the SGA auditors, or not auditors, but that consultation group that we're working with, I'm wondering why this process can't wait until those results have been completed, or at least work inside simultaneously in heavy cooperation with them.
Yeah, I do want to note that there is no proposal on the front. This is simply a discussion surrounding the possibility. I don't think, and depending on the speed, depending on the speed at which the external reviewers work, assuming we can get that reasonable time frame, and we would probably opt to wait until later in the semester to start putting concrete stuff through. I do want to note that obviously the ultimate goals changes to be done before the semester. Both obviously take the feedback of the external reviewers and the consideration. So it's and we would opt to wait to do any votes until after that. However, I also want to note the proposals in consultation put together, and this is why we're having the reason we wanted to have an initial discussion tonight. It's just so everybody can see this, so that we can talk about it, so that we can have a conversation like this. This is not going to be the final proposal that you guys see. That's going to change. My understanding is probably sounds like there might be a couple of proposals, a couple different factions doing a couple different proposals right now. So we kind of want to bring this together and kind of one cohesive and concrete plan. That's the thing that's going on in the next couple of weeks. Chair Damon's been doing a really good job kind of bringing, kind of starting to bring things together. So that's something we want to talk about. But there's more so a discussion. I agree that we have to see what we say before we do anything big. I also think that the external reviewers might have additional recommendations that we're not even really thinking of right now. But when they go through the process, they're like, oh, we didn't think of that before. So overall, there's going to be a lot of changes. I'd like to see some of them happen this semester. I don't expect all of them to happen this semester. But we need to bring some. We need to do it because at this point, like this has been passed on from administration to administration. We pass it on so long. But we obviously, after tonight, have to go back and reevaluate. I still believe that a lot of parts of it that are really great, and I'd like to throw out. But obviously, there are going to be some things that will have to be in it, and that was what we expected of tonight. And from now. We don't. However, the reason we're doing this now, even this conversation now, rather than after the external review is done, is because if we wait too long to get too late in the semester, we're too late to actually have a full one. So we wanted to get this early in the semester. We didn't want to use time to go back to the drawing board and to, obviously take parts of this that work, and then other parts of it are really solid proposal, solve all the parts. Of course, also implement some of these other proposals that are I actually RSG today. That was actually an email to Julie to work on that. So that was something that was on my agenda of things to do. So I happen to be part of that. I would love to consider that being that would be my next step. But I wanted to make sure we got this up early this semester. But I came up here fully knowing that this was not a complete final proposal. But the reason I wanted to do this is because I think that it's good that we have these discussions early. That way I'm not leaving you guys as senators in the dark doing. And that way now from this discussion, you know what this is. We can continue to have these conversations in the office, meetings, or we can actually, this could be a thing we all work on together now rather than just being making the shots on this. Because ultimately, we want really comprehensive financial plan. Think of it like this: we're in the early stages of the semester. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. Ideas out there. This semester, the goal is to take all these up, turn it into concrete proposals, and then before the end of the semester, we have votes on it, and we have real to go to. Senator Nevins.
Sorry, I'll just take a few more questions on this. Try to wrap it up by. And then all further questions can be directed to the floor.
First and foremost, President Cody, this commission a real place of compassion and concern. I understand that, people trying to find a very good solution for this issue. Also, Secretary Butler, Chair Stamen, and I know they're working very hard. I have a few things to say, and I'll get to the question. First and foremost, I think that the bulk of the concern here is with what the UROC is doing with RSGs. I think that your concern for smaller groups is super valid. I have many friends who run smaller clubs, and I see the impact that it has on them. It is a problem. Clubs are getting slashed disproportionately. They're getting like $20. It's not fair. And I think that all of the problems that we're seeing with this can be solved with RSO reform. We don't need more restrictions on them in the sense of funding, more restrictions in the sense of what category can they be placed into, and then that decides their funding. I want to continue on just a little bit more membership fees and those fees, and that had to be a part of the UMass administration. In the same sense of not wanting to raise the SATF now, I agree. I don't want to raise the SATF any more than you guys do. I feel that effect personally. Every other student feels it as well. But the thing is when we increase the operational load that the administration has, they tell the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees made this tuition that President Meehan already said that they're going to raise it again. And that's a real concern that I have because there are many students that can't really afford the level of increases, and that operational load that we see come in there is going to increase. I'm just continuing on it. I want to second everything that Neil and Secretary Rose with equity and concerns about the cuts in DEA emergency funding. The clubs on this campus are what makes UMass Amherst what it is. It's the opportunities that students have to get the jobs that they get after graduation. I think that these caps, these minimums, really reduce the interest of these clubs to function, especially the larger ones. I'm going to go on my my question, just because I want to keep this here too. And I think this is the main center of why this proposal, has been said in the presentation, it says proposal, some of the version that was given to us today. I think it's because there's a lack of communication between specifically your office and the legislative. So, and I don't want to upset in any way, but the way it seemed as if you didn't really know what ours was doing, and some of the solutions that we have. And I appreciate your candor with that one part. I shouted out, but I think you should have done that before you opened up these slides. I think that you should have reached out to you, Ross, to Ty, to Julia, because the work that they're doing is just my question is, what are you going to do to be more involved in the solution to this issue? And is there a strategic plan for that?
All right, so a couple points that I want to address there. And I'll get them more quickly. I have 2 more questions up tonight. First and foremost, to answer the portion regarding tuition. First of all, I completely agree. I do not believe that there's a benefits of low pump administration that should not be increased. Like, I completely agree with you. And I think what's different about our money is it goes back. So it's not something we can say about all the money the administration has. Some of it does, but obviously they need a lot more. I would say, secondly, and I would say one thing to think about is, obviously we want groups to be more funded, but funds are required in order to be able to do this. More funds usually means higher tuition. So it's kind of like one of those things that have to balance. We have to balance, because we could, as it currently stands, we could increase the funds for all of our groups. And we could have everybody able to take more that they're requesting. But in order to do that, that would require a lot of tuition rates, a lot more than just the one that we did last week, or the one that we're going to do. So it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of have to find the right balance. Right, unless all the groups unanimously come to this decision that they're going to, they're each going to do their part to make sure they're requesting a responsible amount. There's always going to be cuts. We have so many new groups coming in, and so many with the price of things. Budgets are going up both just by trend and the fact that inflation is rising has been causing that. The cost of living is going up. The cost of goods is going up. So unfortunately, we live in a world where, oftentimes raising the amount of money the groups have is going to result in major tuition raises. If we raise the tuition by $200 tomorrow, and every group can I don't know if there's any single person in this room or out there that wants to see the tuition go up $200. So that's that part. Now I'll respond to the part regarding the whole legislative executive thing. I think this is kind of much deeper conversation that needs to be had. I think it kind of goes both ways. Could I have done more on my part to communicate with them? Sure. But also, it is also it's hard when I'm learning about things that are happening through reports or from somebody else who's coming and telling me about this kind of thing. If you have a major initiative going on, I would highly recommend coming to my office. I do my best to try to get around to legislative as much as possible, but like you guys, I'm a full-time student. I don't have time to go to 8 committees and 3 subcommittees every week because I have to work with 12 cabinet members that I supervise. I have to go to administrative meetings. I have full-time student. I take classes. Go to some Dale. Go to my cabinet. Now, one thing we're trying to do is there are cabinet members on the searching committees, and we are trying to make it so that those particular cabinet members will go at least several times a month. That's a new requirement we're doing, so that should hopefully bring the executive branch to the legislative more. Secondly, there is really, I have said in a few committees this semester, but it's like you have a specific committee that thinks it would be good for me to sit in on it, just email me. you know if the person I schedule. But also, I just want to say, like, if you have a major proposal, I recommend you come to my office. And it gets passed through the Senate. It will require my signature at the end. And I can tell you, if I've never heard of it, I'm never going to say no to somebody who I may have some, but ultimately I want to work with them to kind of put it to agreements we can all agree to and actually get something agreed on. Now, if I've never heard of it, and also it goes through Senate, my desk, then I may have to. I don't want to do that. I haven't done it yet, but I would say it goes both ways. I think I could do more to touch with certain legislators. I have great relationships with some people. I've had great conversations with some people in legislative, and I recognize that there are others that maybe I could have talked to sooner. On the other hand, I also think that a lot of the core 4 level, make sure that I communicate pretty quickly proposals that are going on. So we do have a pretty good understanding of what is happening. It's just again, like I never got to have a conversation with the people who are working on the RSGs. That's something that needs to happen. It goes both ways. I think this needs to be better communication, and I think there needs to be less factionalism between legislative and executive and between parts of the legislative and other people. I feel that we sort of have this divide right now. We do have some proposals going around, partly on me, but I think it's on all of us to be more communicative with each other. And I think that starts with just being more open and actually being willing to talk with each other, even if we disagree with things. So I would just state that I think this is not necessarily my fault. I think it's any your fault. I think it's just something that actually happens every year, but I think it's something that we can work to fix. And I think feedback great because we can all come together and we can try to get something that works for everybody after having this conversation. I'm going to pass to Senator Trump. Do you still have a question?
I just want to go a lot of what the other senators and chairs have said. I think I agree a lot. I think the MGA is a very interesting concept that I definitely know more about. Talk about. I think one of the, interesting thing about this is that the number of RSOs are projected to increase. Therefore, the MGA would be projected to decrease, more funding open to cross-border cuts. So then we're essentially going to end up where we are right now. So I would just, I think, not to steal spending, but work together the RSG, along with, I think, there's 5 initiatives. This RSG is working with SATF reform, and I know John and I are working on the SR report. So I really just think we should all work together and work together to ensure that everything gets done on time and that communication is very clear. I also just like to touch quickly on the sorts of funding categories, the caps and the grants and these additional SI are going to require maintenance. I have to look over them every year, actually. Do audits and whatnot to calculate if we're going to need some changes, and these are going to require a committee to do so. So currently, I guess the finances will be ways and means and means of committees. As previously stated, the ways and means committee is very overworked. So I think some solutions for that.
So I do quickly want to address a few of the points there. Chair Stamen may have a point of information that Chair Song, did you still want to ask your question? Okay, so that's what we're going to do, and we'll cut it off there just for time reasons. And the rest, if you have more questions, and of course, come to my office. I'll be around. We obviously don't want to be here until midnight again, but there's going to be plenty more. So I do want to just address a couple of the points. Those are really, there does need to be regular maintenance, and there have been talk about doing external. There have been talk about doing a strategic planning sort of subcommittee or task force. That has seemingly not come to fruition yet. That's something that's been talked about for the last year and a half or so, with both legislative and executive being a part of it. I think that might be be a great way to facilitate those changes. They're really going to look at sort of the long-term vision of the SGA. They kind of evaluate each year if the processes that we're using are working. So maybe establishing something like that. Because I hear you. I think it's a significantly overworked. You know, I don't not feasible to add, say, workload onto meetings right now. And I do agree. I think that ultimately, I think this is the starting point. I think we need to do, and we want to learn, you know, I know a little bit about the RSG, but I want to learn more about that. I think there probably could be a way we can kind of marry your efforts together and come to something that works for everybody that we can all get behind. And I think that's just a conversation. Those conversations just need to be happening. So I will be following up with a number of you here in the room to try to get these conversations moving. I think we'll all sit down and we kind of like merge our proposals and we can come up with something really strong. And then we can come up with something really good. I'm really glad we're having this discussion because I think it's allowing us to kind of, you know, back and forth with each other. It would be great to continue to have this on like smaller scale. To go over to Chair Sarna. You can waive your question to.
Yeah, I just have one question, and then I think I'm going to let Julia answer the question. Yeah. So my only question was that I know you said that the proposed references that happens to put caps at the universities. I'm just curious, is there any kind of like data or any kind of effort to reach out to them to see if these systems have been successful toward long-term financial stability, or are you kind of envisioning that for something to be like development of this proposal?
I'm going to go to Chair Statement. He's doing some great benchmarking efforts and things.
Hi. Hello. Okay. So to answer your question, that's actually what we're doing right now. So we've identified a few universities that were very similar to ours in population size, number of arts surveyed, and just some interesting ideas that they would have implemented and the impact it had on their financial processes. There were some outliers we're also reaching out to, like they had a really extremely high, for instance, SATFP, but they service a similar number of groups, similar population, similar requirements, and we're reaching out to them about why are pricing the fees so high. This is actually groups a benchmark. So they price their SATFP at like 600. Ours is 233, and I thought that was a little bit ridiculous, but that's quite average compared to other groups. So ask me this question again in a week, and I will actually be able to take answer because we are in the process of reaching out to those schools right now. We just finished our initial benchmarking review, so this is a more in-depth dive, hoping to kind of get to the nooks and crannies of what's working, what isn't, or is this a school that's also looking for reform processes? We also want to do that.
Perfect. And then I waive my second question.
Thank you, Ishan. I appreciate the sentiment that you had been planning to reach me, but I just see that a lot of people in this room don't really know what the RSG subcommittee has been doing, especially because we are still in the planning stages. We're like still, you know, drafting bylaw amendments and stuff. I just wanted to like do a quick overview of like the financial aspect of the RSG. So basically, especially for the new senators, we're working on creating a new category of ESO called a registered student group. Basically just a much more informal version of an RSO. In terms of money, our whole plan was to create a separate fund. They each had like a minimum or a maximum amount they can request, which is currently $270. And we're trying to encourage a large number of active RSOs to, you know, transfer to RSG status. So that would not only take the strain off of, you know, the current RSO budget, but that would also allow new student groups who are looking to create like just a club. We don't really necessarily need a whole ton of money to like easily do that without requesting an insane amount of money. So I don't know if I can speak more to this or.
Okay, so I think everybody just asked a question. This we are doing something for RSO reform, and we will have RSO into a higher standard. And because of that, RSO going to be way harder to create in the future of this. I will propose some change in the RSO reform in the next task force meeting, and that will be way harder. The reason why we get RSG is to have a sub kind of option for them to choose. If you just want to create a clubs that is like not required national funding, and the reason is that we don't want to limit like the ability to create an RSO just based on the commitment level of you and the level of why you want to create that. Up to the point of you saying you don't know a lot of RSG, I think I mentioned this multiple times in the task force meeting already. By this time, if you don't know what RSG is, I don't think you say not talk to me anything. That's a very surprise for me, and I don't know, like, pay attention if it's not.
Where is this hospital going towards? This is ridiculous.
Keep it
We're not gonna do that. So,
like, I
no,
don't.
no, I'm not gonna be on that.
It's just offensive
Hi,
to me.
hi,
Point of
hi.
order.
I'm not productive. It's not productive. I'm not accusing you of anything. We're not gonna do this, okay? All right, so wrap that up. We are going to, I think, overall, this was a great discussion. What we're going to do from here is there are great discussions to be had. I do have some questions about the RSG myself, but I think time constraints will be better for us to have this. But otherwise, I want to thank everybody for their very insightful information that they gave today. I thought it was a really great discussion. Since the beginning of what should hopefully be a good process where we can at least get hopefully a vast majority of the people in the room to agree upon something and bring real change that's needed. So thank you all very much, and I'll turn it back over to the speaker for
All right, on that note, the chair will entertain a motion to call. Yes, sir. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it accordingly. The whole group's comments and adjourned, and then we'll consider the remainder of the agenda. All right, the Senate will now consider S69. Chair Fitzgerald recommends. Chair Centenaro's asked unanimous consent of the Senate to consider 69, 75 en bloc. Are there any objections? All right, no objections. The Senate will consider S9 through S65 as a single motion. Shall now read on the version of those motions. S69, a motion to appoint Fernanda Areola and Abigail. Motion to appoint Brian Beltrami, Liam Black, and Ella Vaughn. S71, a motion to appoint Marcus and Nash on Application Development. S72, motion to appoint Walker Hoover, Ken Legato, Ashley Chondo to the Committee on Social Justice and Empowerment. S73, motion to appoint Hai Tran and Thang Lei to the Committee on Underground Oversight. S74, a motion to appoint Kira Cook to the Committee on Underground Resources. And S75, a motion to appoint Jonathan Shea to the Committee on Standards. All right. Any questions for me? Sponsor, please. So I could maybe speak to the process. We asked the senators to inform that these top three choices. We also asked to submit the first choice and based on these responses. I and Chair Sarna put together to create the best community appointments. Awesome. Is there? So this is to me. Notification we need for the dates. Any question on the passage of S9 through S? I have questions for new members. All those in favor of passing the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion's passes. All right. Senate will now consider the Committee on Undergraduate University Oversight, Committee on Speaker Planning, and Chair Shannon. Senator Nguyen, Chair Shannon's interest in reasoning, Chair Shannon agreed. Yeah, you can come up to explain this.
Hello. Leo came and approached saying that he was really interested in ways. We kind of attend a few of these meetings, witness the chaos, so to speak. And I think he's a wonderful fit. Looks like he's been having a great time, and he's already, even though he can't vote, he's been helping push along committee business, participating in debates. And honestly, my committee has benefited having his help, and we absolutely have. And so, yeah, he told me that he was willing to switch. He wanted to switch on Friday. Spoke to Chair Trin about it, and sounds like there's a lot of but yeah, welcome to Ways and Means.
And the reason why I'm sponsoring is the reappointments similar. Any further questions? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, notification for debates. Questions on the passage of N76, question to reappoint Leo Nguyen from the Committee on Undergraduate Oversight. All those in favor of passing the motion, say aye. Aye. All those abstain. Ayes have it, motion passes. S77, Chair Centenaros seeks unanimous consent to consider S77 and S78 on any objections. Senator Mel.
Yes, I do.
A specific question or one of the amendments that is required together?
Yes, so we'll ask them both to come up themselves and then we can ask questions then. Are there any objections? All right. We'll consider S77 and 78 on block. These are issue of point one Valencia to the position. 78 is Rena Sales position of elections. Invites both appointees to come up. Any questions? Chair Sarna.
I share that helps.
Yeah, to just explain the ODC process behind to what these students today.
Alright, hi. I was also part of the ODC with 10 for break. We had a total of 5 candidates for the position. Again, I thought the commission, ODC deliberated. In over break, over Zoom, we chose that people were the ones for the positions. Do you want to proceed with the question?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ms. Rena. I'm a senior bio and joined. Well, I applied to be in this position because I wanted to be a part of SGA in some way or another before I graduated. And
Hello, one. I'm a sophomore political science and managerial economics major. The main reason why I applied for this position was to have, in a way, to be part of SGA and contribute to the elections process for those years.
I asked this question in the committee, but in the spirit of transparency, one, you said that the reason you applied was because Attorney General Banga position, and so I wanted to ask you again if you feel there could be conflicts as Attorney General running for president.
Well, to be honest, first of all, I did running for the presidential position. Applied, and he told me about the position in general. He didn't describe what specifically was the election. We always have a group of people that help us in the process of certifying the election, certifying nominations and all this stuff. So that's why I grew my interest to be part of the election. But I've been very transparent with the election itself and the speaker about my knowledge of my running position. But as always, I understand that I have a conflict of interest, and I always refuse to be part of stuff, including being someone that's giving an accusation, like a complaint or something going on of his presence.
Yes, Senator Lay. My question, thank you very much for applying and congratulations on being for today. My question to you is that if there's any extra violations or any complaints in the election commissions, like the election commission to operate, the commission is operating, such as the delay in verdict regarding an issue, or possibly the action of ignoring certain things that has happened. Would you make sure that your response will be on time, would be in a manner, and if your response was complained that is not delivered in a timely manner, the consequences has already happened, how would you do to amend or maybe to fix, to basically resolve the consequences?
I'm a little confused by that question.
Well, it's a very question. So basically, I'm just telling him that respond in a timely manner. He comes up, and somehow he's able to respond it in a timely manner, and the consequences of something has already happened or after the election. What would be his action? His actions?
As of right now, we had 2 meetings. We always set up our meetings through when to meet to make sure that we're on time, and then we have a little bit of time to go through all the companies with care on
what the complaint is about, but we always make sure that we can have time either for the weekends or any complaints.
I would also just like to add that like both the candidates that we selected for the position, they mentioned times like in the interview and also in the written cycle that they're very dependable people. Like I like dependable people who will be like quick to respond to emails or any other like communication within the group and other minutes. So like I can personally vouch for both of these people as dependable, transparent. I have my full faith in them.
This is just a point of information, I guess. And I'm not familiar with the responsibilities of the election commissioners. I have to know before voting on.
Yes, I can clarify what the Elections Commission does. The Elections Commission is an independent body of SGA that oversees general and special elections. And the reason why I'm not associated with this is just because the legislative branch now handles their administrative needs, such as pay, general onboarding. Yeah, I mean, the Elections Commission creates the timeline for all elections, the process for referendum petitions. They handle complaints that might come up during an election. They work closely with PR team outreach to ensure that we have at least 5% voter turnout. So anything really elections based, they handle forms. Anything that has to do with an election is under the jurisdiction of the elections, just so that we're ensuring that our elections are not biased. There are, I'd have to review the specifics, but there are ways in the laws that we achieve this. Elections commissioners cannot seek office during their term as an elections commissioner. Also, yeah, they can't oversee an election that they can't oversee an election or participate in elections at the time. So they are very independent. They're also technically not. I advise the commission for questions pertaining to the laws of SGA, but I don't have any say, nor does any other officer of SGA say on what their decisions are.
Just a follow-up. Yeah. This might not be a question to be answered today, but just for that potential conflict of interest, I'm wondering if there are any checks that can prevent from any conflicts of interests.
Yeah. So, I mean, they just training from Attorney Ben Bureau about how to handle complaints. I'm sure we do other conflict of interest. Seen that scenario. I'd have to review the specifics, but there are problems for committee members of a body to say that certain has a conflict of interest that they're not being concerned about, but the other members of the body know about it, then there's a way where they can bring it to a conflict of interest exists. And so that's kind of I have full faith that our commissioners are conflict of interest and are responsible enough to abstain in that scenario. But that's I guess the last resort. Sure.
Okay. I think that's great to hear that you said you're going to try your best to. But I would love to hear a bit more, like a specific action you're going to do to avoid that company bias. I don't think I should from both of you guys.
As you know, we recently had training with Attorney Farrell. I was aware that there were laws to follow and ensure that we handle complaints well and in a neutral way, and to avoid conflict of interest. I will ensure that we are both very knowledgeable of the bylaws and sure to look at the complaint with the situation from our perspective and only look at the facts for both sides. And then really just see how these facts align with the bylaws and discuss it with the group. And yeah, I think just really taking a good look at the bylaws, especially Title 8, and just abiding by those will help guide us in a way.
And going also that Attorney Farrell gave us a copy of Title 8 that we always when we're handling complaints, for example, how we're doing right now. We always check the bylaws, we ask for each other's what a complaint should be handled as regarding the bylaws. Especially now, as I had my experience already with 2 complaints regarding general. As a conflict of interest, I have to tell the commission itself I'll be abstaining from any vote regarding that position because I have a conflict of interest because I know this person personally.
I do want to know that I was one of those votes, and one did abstain from the vote, and 2 were involved in the complaint, so I can verify that this practice. The community did a great job being partial and also recusing themselves when they did know. So I don't personally have any concern that would be a problem.
Senator Mellon.
Just to follow up on that, so I saw in the transcript from your interview, you said you're friends with Birmingham security procedures from them. I'm just curious, like during the election, would you be willing to talk to regulated vendors and steer away from the election side of things? Just to clarify about networking kind of procedures.
Sorry, could you say that again? I could read the beginning.
It's on.
So in your interview transcript, it says that you're friends with Ryan Jorvega, hear procedures from him. And first, what's I'm willing to not discuss specifically election matters with him privately during the election season concerning him.
I just want to provide a clarification. Seeking candidates. He's not a candidate at this moment. I just want to know that.
To be honest, he at the beginning before he asked me if I could support his in his nomination, but then because I was for the position of election commission, he agreed that any matters that go with the election will not be personally. So even though he's a friend to me, I do not discuss any matter regarding the election.
Senator Lakevia.
Just to either of you, just kind of a someone were to post a link to a nomination form for a candidacy they were seeking, would that be considered campaigning before the official start date and campaigning can begin?
Yeah.
I think it's relevant because I've seen at least nominations for multiple candidates, and I wanted to know if the same, I guess, reaction is applied for all committees involved. If there's like
reaction.
When I say reaction, I mean with posting a nomination form is considered campaigning. Because I think it is
the commission in general for the entire commission.
Yeah. Just a little point of information. I posted the nomination form of a candidate, and I got it for him. So it is being applied. with that, but it's not, there's not been favor shown for a particular candidate. I believe actually either every ticket or a supporter of every current ticket has received a warning for the something that a lot of people didn't understand that we now obviously have a better understanding of.
So, yeah, I didn't mean to be a jerk in asking, but thank you.
Take two more questions. Senator Trump's been raising.
I guess it's just like a point of information, I guess. Question. I think you stated earlier that when you were thinking the Elections Commission that you were not aware of Attorney Dwarbenga's intent to run, and then just now you said that you were aware that he was going to be running when you were going to be seeking the Election Commission role. I just wanted to get clarification on it. I don't know if you misspoke or not.
Yeah, I kind of misspoke on there, but what I mean is that, of course, the process was around, so that's what was happening. And of course, I had barely any idea about what was for an election commission at the time. So when we came to campus, when the candidates were starting to send links and everything, like probably to a lot of people as well, and I mentioned that to support him, simply because I'm going for the position of the commission. I cannot support in any way. So that's the clarification. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Real quick, I believe our deliberation meeting, and then like Adana or Juliet, feel free to cut. Of January over Zoom. So like mid-January is when like news about like who's gonna be accepted for consideration for election commission. That's if that helps.
This is our final question.
Okay, so just point of inquiry, so I understand what you said here, so I can go back. So you said that candidates as of now are not candidates; they are aspiring candidates. However, Title 8, Chapter 21 of candidate shall be defined as any person who shall have expressed a firm intention to qualify or has qualified to have their name placed on the ballot. What exactly defines a firm intention, which would then make him a candidate?
Look, I'm not the election commission, like I said. So I don't make rulings. To my understanding, though, there's a difference between a nominee and, to my understanding, someone who has received the required number of nomination signatures, and their nomination signatures are approved by the elections commission, so they're here as a candidate. That's what I'll say. That was our last question, which unfortunately wasn't for our elections commissioners today. But is there a second?
Second.
Those are just the need for debates. Notification of need for debates. The questions on the passage of S77 and S78 are. A motion to appoint Juan Valencia to the position of Elections Commissioner. And a motion to appoint Sabrina Snow to the position of Elections Commissioner. All those in favor of passing the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. All those abstaining, say
Same.
Being the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion passes. All right, there are no unfinished business. Chair Centenaro?
For the purposes of conduct advising payroll confirmation,
The chair will now read the entirety of the motion. All right. Motion to add Valentina to the SG payroll. Add SG payroll. Motion to add Sarah Johnson to the SG. We're going to have to be introduced separately. So first for Valentina Ramirez, the SG payroll. I guess we're not going to do the factual stream now. That'll come at the end of the meeting. Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor of suspending the rules to consider business not anticipated before the meeting prior to the meeting? Say aye. All those opposed say no. All those abstaining say abstain. Ayes have it. Motion is adopted. Second motion.
Oh, yes. Motion to consider, just switch care cook to the payroll.
Okay. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Number 3.
Motion to consider adding Sarah Johnson to the SGA payroll.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right. So accordingly, all 3 of these added to yes. Okay, and they will be designated in motion number S79, S80, and S. Move on to officer reports. Trustee Oliveira is recognized. Senator there.
This might be out of order, but I was wondering if I could vote for the S77 blocked with S70.
I'll have to check the bylaws on this. So the Senate will stand in a brief recess. Please do not leave the room. 2 minutes. Please return to your seats. According to Title 2, Chapter 24, Section 3, it states, if a senator or the speaker shall be in doubt of a vote, they may call the division of the assembly on a motion by making the subsidiary motion to change the voting procedure, provided that the subsidiary motion is made prior to the speaker lowering the gavel on the motion. So the gavel was lowered on that motion. The only alternative is to move to reconsider, which can be made anytime during the conduct of the meeting. So if a senator wanted to do that, then that is possible. I would personally have to review that before that procedure happens. And I might add that subsidiary motion would have to be moved, meaning the subsidiary motion to reconsider, it would have to be moved by a member on the prevailing side of the motion. So someone who voted in favor of passing. Senator Kim.
Point of information, I just double checked the schedule. We had a deliberation meeting for the SGA commissioners on the 11th of January. And then we sent out the updates to people who were accepted for consideration on the same day at around 4 p.m. EST, if that helps.
All right. Seeing on the Senate will continue considering the remainder of the agenda. President Humphreys.
Hello, everybody. We're having quite some fun tonight. What happened? Something.
Oh, I can tell them to go home.
Oh.
You told me that Tom to wait 5 minutes, right?
Oh, elections commissioners, yeah.
Just in case.
They're right there.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to business.
Back to our scheduled programming. So I wanted to update you on a few things that are not financial related. I think we've done enough of that tonight. So first, food security. Excited to announce that we have hired a basic needs director. This is something that the SGA really fought for. Started when I was chair of undergraduate services committee and finished it as president. I was on 3 search panels. We had 2 candidates decline, so this is a very happy moment for us. Also earlier today, I got to be a part of the listening session for the new food pantry that's opening at the old Newman Center next fall. So that's really exciting. It's another thing the SGA fought for. I also want to note that I'm currently inquiring about the Swipe Donation Program, and I'm encouraging the Dean of Students Office to renew that program for this semester. I've received a couple of inquiries from students about that. If you have feedback about how the pantry is going to be run, we had great discussions today about what types of products will be provided there, what the space is going to be like. We want to make it a really warm and welcoming place, and also about how we can kind of protect the privacy of the people going there and make people comfortable. We're talking about like maybe putting up some kind of fencing, and also just like making sure that all the information gets kept confidential, and having also we talked about reusable bags to help people carry stuff in and out. So I believe there will be a few more listening sessions I can send along, but I'd really encourage people to go if they have the chance. It's a great opportunity to help inform them as they open up this project, and hopefully those of you who are here next year will get a chance to see it in action. I will actually also be here because I got accepted to grad school here, so I'll get to see it on the so some super exciting updates in that regard. Otherwise, the meeting with Chair Rabin We had to reschedule because she's sick and I had something pop up. So we're gonna meet to discuss textbooks. One of the things we're really trying to do is encourage more funding for open educational resources, which are free for students to use. And we also want to start working with academic departments and instructors to phase out the use of course materials that cost students money. Because there are plenty of options that are out there for free, and that's really what we want to push for. Otherwise, having the first meeting of the DEI task force and the student advocacy task force next week. So super excited about that. And then I think on Friday, we are meeting with the Dean of Students office to discuss conduct reform. We have a proposal, an initial proposal that is drawn up, and there are a number of great reforms in there that are going to help to protect the rights of students and make this process better for the students who are involved. Additionally, we want to add a Students' Bill of Rights to the appendix, which will codify some of the rights that students have. Some other universities have done similar things. Secretary Vitale, who's not here right now, did a lot of great work on that. So super hyped about that meeting. We'll give you updates after. So far, the Dean of Students office has been really open to our suggestions, and we've been really open to this discussion. And we're hoping to have the first code of conduct review since 2019 and completed with hopefully within the next month or two. So very exciting. We may have a updated code of conduct for next year that I think will be a lot better. And I look forward to the point where, hopefully we can kind of get a draft, show you guys what the draft looks like after we have our meeting with the Dean of Students office. So yeah, that's the main points for me. Does anybody have any questions? All right, well, thank you guys. Have a great night, and I hope you guys enjoy your Valentine's Day and your long weekend.
Okay, so Colin kind of talked about most things that I have, and most of the last two Senate report outs that I've done were pretty long. So if you guys haven't looked through those, kind of look through those to kind of see like what specifically we've been working on in like more detail. But I would say the biggest thing is the conduct reform that we've been working on. We have a meeting this Friday with DOSA, as Colin said. And so what I did was Ella Pravakar last year and throughout the summer with the former Attorney General Ian Harvey. They kind of came up with a bunch of things that they had questions about the code of conduct. So I took that and I took their suggestions with some of the things that me, Nick, Colin, and Ryan kind of worked up with. So this Friday we'll be meeting with Dean Cardoso to basically say, here's everything that we proposed. And then we'll basically be in negotiations with them to hopefully try to get a new student code of conduct and at the end of the year. And that's kind of like the major thing I have. I have a couple of things I'll talk about in terms of like Faculty Senate, because there's been some pretty big changes in Faculty Senate for some policies. So when we get to that part of the report, I'll come back up. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing I have for now. Does anyone have any questions on anything I've been up to? Cool.
I'm going to speak on behalf of me and Melina, because again, Melina has the flu, unfortunately. But just, everything's in our report outs. But one big highlight from my last week was first getting two, I should say. First Senate meeting of the semester, very exciting, very long. We were all very excited to be here, I guess. So I just want to thank you all, especially our new senators, kind of a baptism by fire. I want to thank you all for your attention, and it wasn't 5 hours of nothing. We were all working really hard, and we were doing our jobs as senators and representatives. So I just want to say thank you for that. Also, last Saturday, Melina and I held the new senator orientation, which, yes, our new senators graciously and very intensively sat through, at times, some very dense information. But yeah, I mean, I think it went well. There's some good stuff. So yeah, it was the highlight of my weekend. So anyway, yeah, everything else in my report outs, those are two big things I want to mention. I'll take any questions. Let me have from you. Oh yeah, yes. Everything's clearly in my report out because I had the longest report out this week. What can I say? I had a lot of fun. All right, no questions, we'll move on. Cool. The Chief Justice is here. The RHA presidents. Good. It's recognized.
So I have some really exciting announcements. I want everyone to give me some more energy, please. So the RHA is starting up some committees. We are working on starting up some research on getting ice machines into dorms, printers into dorms, or residential service desk areas. So I think this first one is about printers. So if you guys can please scan this, take a photo of it, share it with everyone so that we can get some consultation to get it into ResLife as soon as possible. Then the next QR code is one about ice machines.
We'll go back, and it's also in the supplemental materials folder.
So get us all the consultation possible. Residential life really depends on numbers, so the more people, the better. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything, the people to contact for each committee is in my report out. And then, yeah, any questions? Awesome, thank you guys.
Here's the ice machine QR code, and then here's the printer's QR code. Cool. Any RSO council presidents maybe recognized? And so for cabinet and Senate committee reports, we'll just do a pool. So if you'd like to make a report right now, please. Secretary Bellery.
Okay, so my reports are up there. I just want to say two quick things. First, I know that the meeting was a little tense earlier, but I do just want to say to everyone here, I am always very open and I want to encourage everyone to come to me with any financial questions or ideas that they have. I'm always happy to work on it. I try to make my office as inclusive as possible, so please come to me with anything. And I think collaboration makes everything that we do better. And I can learn a lot from other people's perspectives. I think I can provide a lot of perspective. So please come to me, anyone, feel free. I just want to say that because it got a little tense. So everyone, be happy. Let's have fun in the SGA. Thank you.
And there's the dinner after the meeting too. Yes, tonight.
I won't be there, but I hope you all enjoy. Also, I just want to shout out one of our amazing secretaries, Secretary Shara. So she is hosting Hacker this weekend, which is a full 24-hour event, hackathon, which she has poured her heart and soul into. And I think everyone should stop in and say hi because it's an amazing, amazing event and promotes just so much greatness. And she'll talk more about it, but I'll be there. It'll be a great time. Please show up just for like 5 minutes. Say, great work, Anisha. Amazing event.
Well, thanks, Dylan. My only thing is that I'm going to be opening undersecretary applications for tech. So if anyone's interested or knows anybody, please apply. My report is out there. But yeah.
Secretary Mod.
Hi guys, acting secretary here. Just wanted to give a few announcements. Thank you for all your emails and messages. I am getting to them, I promise. I'm sorry if things are a little bit slow right now, but I know a lot of people have a lot of stuff that they need to post on the Instagram, lots of messages they want to get out. So I see you guys. I'm just really bombarded with a lot of messages right now. So if I ever miss your message, feel free to just keep emailing me or keep texting me until I just get it done. because sometimes I'll see something and I'll forget about it, and there's like a lot of things on my mind right now, just in regards to getting that all done. So you're never a bother. Just if you ever need anything from me, especially Instagram wise, because I know there's a lot of time sensitive things happening, particularly with the election, and you know, all that stuff. A lot of things in SGA are time sensitive. Otherwise, other things that I've been doing this week is just PR initiatives with the campaign and the SATF reform. That's something that I want to get up and going. The SATF and the RSO auditing process, as we've kind of all recognized today, especially from this meeting, there's a lot of discourse on it, and you know, there's a lot of discourse happening about it in this room. Just imagine, you know, how other students are feeling and how other people are viewing the SATF increase. You know, a lot of students just see it as an increase in their tuition. So it's really important that we're educated on it, and other students are as well. So something that I really would want to work on with the other chairs and with all of you senators as well is to kind of just get videos out, informational videos as to why this is happening, all the evidence supporting as to why it should happen, just so people know how to vote, because there is the idea of a referenda possibly going up in the elections. Election ballot, whatever we're gonna call it. So people will be voting on it, people are gonna be reading about it, and it's a big topic of contention. So that's just something huge, big that I want to start working on. So if any senators are interested and you want to give your 2 cents, because I sense a lot of that in that room, we have a lot of passionate senators this semester, which is so great. Please just email me and let me know. Otherwise, if you guys have any flyers that need to be posted or made by me, just give me 24 to 48 hours. I know that things are time sensitive, so 24 hours I can do. Otherwise, if you guys have just things that you need to be posted, you know, just send it to me and you can expect it in a couple hours. But that's all. If you have any questions, just come up to me or email me. Yeah.
Okay, hi guys. I'm just giving Secretary Merchant's report out. She's not here, so I'm just gonna echo the message to you guys. Hi everyone. This week I've been busy preparing for the Registry Reform Task Force. Our first meeting is this Friday, where we will be reviewing my drafts of the new materials for the RSO application, which is set to open in fall of 2025. I also met with my new undersecretary to continue working on the sustainable supply closet. We will be meeting with the SORC next week to discuss the items we will be stocking. And later this week, I will be attending the RSG committee as well as administrative affairs to appoint my new undersecretary, Amina, who hopefully you will all meet next week. As always, feel free to reach out to her with any questions. Okay, thanks.
Before we move on to subcommittee reports, I just want to make sure that if there are any faculty senate representatives that want to speak right now. And then after that, ESO, and then advisory boards, faculty senate.
Which faculty senate was it? Guys, there's a lot. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was the undergraduate Gen Ed. Wow, the Gen Ed Faculty Senate Council. Basically, they changed in the disability service letter that in every single syllabus that you get, there's like a letter that says like, hey, if you have disability accommodations that you need, basically here's like how you're supposed to do it. And so the changed wording of it is kind of a little bit more lenient. It doesn't like mandate that a student needs to have the changes like right away in the semester, because you know you can be a freshman that gets to college and you know you can always like become disabled. Like disability isn't something that like you're born with. You can always become disabled. So they're trying to be a little more flexible with that. That was for the undergraduate Gen Ed Council. Then the other council was the Student Affairs and University Life Council. So me and the Deputy Attorney General, who is the person that oversees the conduct office, her name is Eva Pujado. We're both on SAL. And so I'm on the land use policy subcommittee and she is on the picketing code. And so basically for my section, which is the land use policy, which is pretty important because we're also, you know, going through the code of conduct renewal. So it's also important to make sure the land use policy and the picketing code represent student needs, especially what happened on May 7th last year. So basically what I'm trying to get at is we have kind of gotten to like a little bit of like a kind of gotten to a little bit of a brick wall right now, where the way we're trying to implement the policy for the land use policy, we're a little bit afraid of kind of like as a faculty senate committee that we're creating policy by trying to implement that the way that the word is used in the guidelines. I'm trying to think of an example. So for instance, like there's something that says like, oh, this website should be stated here. But right now we don't really have guidelines from the UMass administration on like what that website would entail. So we don't really want to make the decisions. So currently what I'm trying to get at is we're still in discussions on what it would look like. We have another meeting in early March, and Allison Butler, who is the faculty Senate Counsel of Saul, has sent like a draft that's kind of like talking about like what some of the changes that we're looking at. If anyone would like, want to see that draft, please let me know, and I can like show you like what the specific changes are that we're looking into for the implementation of the land use policy and the picketing code. No, it's a lot, so if anyone has any questions, let me know. If not, otherwise, pass it to Jacob.
All right. All right. I only went to one faculty senate committee, academic matters. It's a big one, about 2 hours long. First and foremost, right now I'm the only student representative on that committee, and I would really, really appreciate a friend. Mostly because if I call out sick or I can't make it to that meeting, then we have no representation. We are an academic institution, if I last remember, and academic matters matters. Moving forward, we did a bunch of reforms to the linguistics major. We reformed everything that has to do with their different prerequisites for their courses. I made sure to confirm that's not going to affect current majors. Those are all things that are going to be for people who are in the fall getting to that major. We added a couple of courses that are going to be going abroad, which are pretty exciting. The biggest thing that we were working on was academic integrity. Big word, huge phrase. What does it mean? It's basically the little clause about ChatGPT and plagiarism and all of that jazz. We've been working on it all of last semester, and the committee had been working on it long before I was on there. So we confirmed it last week. I will say I had a lot of concerns as a student myself about some of the verbiage. I can say that we got a lot of it changed and a lot of it, reworded so that it's less predatory towards students. Not that students should use ChatGPT, but it is very hard to prove whether or not a student has used ChatGPT. It is very easy to say, well, you have used ChatGPT, therefore X, Y, Z. So we really strengthened the appellate process for students and increased, students' autonomy and really fought for that. I'm excited to say that that was put into the final writing piece. It was going to get confirmed at the faculty senate last Thursday, but unfortunately campus got closed because there was 3 inches of snow, I think, and Alaskachusets decided that no school. So yeah, hopefully next month they'll pass the academic integrity stuff, and we'll have a lot more direction when it comes to ChatGPT and plagiarism on the campus. So sorry.
Hi. So my name's Aryan. Recently, I was on the SAL council meeting on the campus demonstrations, and basically we're like looking into like the demonstration policy. It got changed previously, like after May 7th happened. Like the new policy is like it's vague in the sense that certain things like civil disobedience are not allowed, and like it basically, like what the conversation was on was like it prevents like any form of sit-in protest from happening. So like we're trying to find a way where we can be less vague in the policy so that we can allow for more peaceful protests, because as of right now the policy limits like almost all sorts of protests, even if they aren't violent, saying that they may be like obstructing or being like a disturbance to campus life or that sense. So I've been working with faculty and discussing with them to see like how we can improve this, change the wording, and discussing further improvements to the policy.
All right. ESO event representatives. Advisory board representatives. Include vice chancellor, student advisory boards. On to Senate committee reports. Chair Centenaro.
Hi guys, super quick, just quick shout out to Ella, Brian, and Liam. Welcome to AA. I'm so excited to see you guys tomorrow. Two quick things. I wanted to hold off on appointing our Rules and Ethics Subcommittee members until our new senators came in. So I want to give you guys a chance. If you're interested in joining the Rules and Ethics Subcommittee, I'm planning on getting that appointment in our next AA meeting. So not tomorrow, but next Thursday. So if you're interested, I'm about to send the link to everyone in Senate. The bylaws are in there in that link if you want to read it over. I'm not going to waste your time right now. Just read it. If you're interested, please join. And then lastly, AA is considering 6 eligibility petition appeals tomorrow. Super exciting. That is it. Goodbye. Hello. So I did not submit my report on time. My apologies. Want a quick shout out to Jonathan and Leo. Welcome again to the Ways and Means Committee. I do have a long one for you guys, unfortunately, but I'm going to try and be as quick as possible. Okay, the Ways and Means Committee, in another exciting piece of news, has finished reviewing Advocacy Council's budget submissions. We are also finishing up Greek Council this end of this week, so this is fantastic news. So only 10 more to go. I do want to give a quick PSA announcement. Given that we are doing budget review right now, please, for the love of God, do not answer any budget questions when RSOs come into the SGA office. We had issues arise last year with senators answering budget questions, and they were different from the chair's answers, and it caused a lot of confusion. Please don't do that, because it's very confusing for the RSOs, and I want them to have an easy time.
Instead, what should they do?
Please forward those requests to me. Thank you, Speaker Flanagan. Yes, so send them my way, shoot me a quick text, whatever you want to do, email me, or give them my email. Just send them my way so that we can avoid confusion moving forward. Right. As Val just said, 6 eligibility petitions with Administrative Affairs, so I will be coming to their committee meeting tomorrow. It's going to be a fun, dandy time. Super excited. This is my first time officially sitting on one of their appeal hearings, so I'm super excited. I have a financial update for all of you. Our Secretary in Finance and I are currently working on the next step of our SATF reform process. So if you all remember, there was a lot of steps, part of that plan. And one of those things was long-term reserves. So we have finalized the number of what that looks like, and we are coming up with a proposal of how much money from our long-term reserves is going to go to the projected deficit. Yep, so we're collaborating with SACO Finance on that, and hopefully I will have an update for you regarding our plan with that. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, I've had a lot of questions coming up in the office about a couple of things I mentioned last week, so I just want to clarify a few things. I had a lot of questions regarding what exactly happened. So just for the sake of transparency, I'm going to touch upon that real quick. The former chair of Ways and Means, a good friend of mine, Pranav Joshi, he was the chair of Ways and Means last year, and he had 3 different majors that he was balancing. He was applying to internships, running the Ways and Means Committee by himself. And as I'm sure all of you know, this position, it's very important. We do a lot of work. And it's very, it takes a lot of time and effort and energy out of almost every single chair. And last year with our former administration, the former chair of Ways and Means did not get as much of support as he would have liked. And when shit hit the fan, for lack of a better word, when we had problems coming up in our budgeting process, There was not as many people to help. Now, that is no fault of anyone in our former administration, because as I'm sure you know, finances, very specialized, very sensitive. Yes, so usually the people who take on those roles have a more specialized area of expertise. And sometimes when it comes to helping, people are scared to make a mistake. And that happened to be an issue last year. Our administration has taken a lot of steps to address it this year. That's why I gave my presentation last week. That's why you've gotten as many presentations as you have gotten from me this year, to improve financial education and also to help encourage questions and interest. So in that vein, this is steps I've taken this year. These were not steps that were taken last year. And so when we had issues, there were not that many people to help out. And our SACL finance team ended up stepping up. Our numbers meeting, as a result of voting going on as late as it did, because I'm sure we know there's an influx of RSOs, it was pushed off because the committee finished voting very late. And because of that, the numbers meeting had to be pushed off. Because the numbers meeting was pushed off, all the staff that we needed to be there to make these decisions were not there. The director of SACL Finance, she was actually on personal leave. She was not supposed to be in the office that day, and she told the former chair that ahead of time. Unfortunately, we could not push this off because we were getting to the last Senate meeting of the school year, and we have to finish allocations by a certain time. So our staff stepped up. Our Jan Cole, one of our staff who works on our SACL finance team, sat in a meeting with our former chair of Ways and Means for 12 hours on a Friday. They did not leave until the allocations were done. And the person who we needed to confirm the number, unfortunately, could not be there. And she still was helping from her personal leave. We had to call her on the phone for her to confirm these numbers. And she doesn't have them directly in front of her. She's looking at a cell phone. So all I'm saying, all of this to say is, this is a shared responsibility, right? This is not one person problem. This is not an SGA problem. It's not a SACL finance problem. It's a joint problem. We made decisions on our end that led to that situation happening. SACL did make a mistake, but even then, they notified us and they told us that it should be rectified. Unfortunately, we also had special circumstances at the time, and SGA's back was quite literally against the wall, and we had absolutely no time to fix this. And we had another financial issue that came up with our allocation process. So all in all, the former chair and the former speaker decided that they can't and they don't have the time to fix this. So what I'm asking all of you is, let's not play the blame game. Let's not point fingers at one another, okay? SACL Finance, great resource. The staff, absolutely lovely. They help me do my job every single day. And they call me after work hours if need be. Please, let's be nice to them. They are people too. Let's not point fingers at one another. If you have any questions regarding circumstances that led to this situation, I'm more than happy to talk about it. But there were questions that came up last week regarding steps that were taken to remedy it. Our administration has taken many steps, myself included, to make sure this doesn't happen. SACL internally has taken steps to make sure this doesn't happen. This is also why we have 2 numbers meetings this year, to have 2 special processes to make sure that we're not pushing off allocations anymore, and to make sure this situation never happens again. And my speech is done. Spiel is done. Any questions on anything I just said? Great, fantastic.
Hello, hi guys. So I just want to plug an event that's happening tomorrow for the 4th day of Anti-Racism Week. If you go on our Instagram, you're going to see a collaboration with BSU and Rebirth, which is a POC journalist group. And we're having a panel on institutional racism and systemic inequality. It's going to be on Zoom, so if you guys can be there, it's from 6 to 8. I would really appreciate that. I just want to touch on a little bit why we're doing this week, because I think it's important to know what about anti-racism. Obviously, as a Black student, I have no choice but to be engaged in anti-racism because it's my whole life. I have no have no choice but to know what racism looks like. So I know the vast majority of students here don't really have to engage with this because they have the privilege to know that it doesn't affect them. So I really want this week to be a way to educate yourself, to know like what steps you can take to actively be anti-racist. So if you can't come to the event, I would really appreciate if you would look up the Instagram and look at some information about what anti-racism is, what you can do, and just the importance of it. Any questions? Jacob.
Senator Nevins.
Is it possible, and this is something that you can answer later down the line, for that Zoom meeting to be recorded so that individuals who can't necessarily attend during that time period can still watch it?
I can definitely get that recorded. Thank you for that.
Al?
Questions I've never gotten.
We'll go to Samaria.
So you said that this panel is going to be hosted on Zoom. Where is the Zoom link going to be available?
If you go on our SGA page, there's a collaboration post with BSU and Rebirth. At the end of the caption, you'll see the Zoom link.
Also on our public calendar, I believe, which is in the Senate page of the website.
I was just checking the public calendar and I didn't see the link. That's
I
all.
don't think I sent it to you.
We'll put it in the public calendar. Thank you.
Is that your question, Angel?
Yeah, I just want to.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, guys.
Amazon.
All right, hi everyone. So here's gonna be my report. So first, congratulations to Kara Cook for joining USC. We're super excited to have you join the USC family. By the way, USC means Undergraduate Services Committee, so I'm gonna be referring to it like that from now on. So I wanted to announce that we have formed a bunch of mini task forces, name pending. If any of you have better names, feel free to tell me, about multiple different areas on campus. We're going to make different groups within the committee, from things such as accessibility down to dining, and also on university health services. So if any of this sounds interesting to you and you want to help out, even if you're not on us, please feel free to reach out to me and we can get you on one of these mini task forces and you can make some real change in our community. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Just real quick, but over the weekend, especially Chair Sarna organized, like he obviously sent everyone to committee. So congratulations again to all of you senators who redistributed. Also, just a reminder, if you guys are still available and willing, we are going to be having the dinner at break after this meeting. I think the best idea is for everyone to just meet at the SGA office when the meeting's over. Aside from that, thank you so much.
Can I go for Chair Rabbit first? Yeah. Yeah. So hi, I'm Bella. So so basically, first of all, she want to welcome everybody, the new senators, to go on AO. I think she said it's the best committee. I don't know, but like still. And she said the academic resource fair is going to be on this Friday. So look out for that. If you guys want to join, please join her. Also, she is letting out all the iClicker this week. So if your friend need an iClicker or something, just a reminder that like iClicker program is still in place. My report. Okay, so for my report, a miracle happened this week. Michael actually agreed with something I proposed. Yeah. So I'm quite happy about that. It's a miracle. So we are beginning, Jerome is beginning to, for the auditing process for the RSO. So we have selected the RSO and we start sending email literally, I think last night. 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago for all the RSO that's going to be audited. And yeah, we all have the schedule of the auditing process layout already. So everything should follow all the schedule. We're also planning for a little bit of a workshop for all the RSO or RSG applicants in the future that they might be interested in. So we are planning that as well. The other thing I would mention is that Europe is
just planning a bonding event. We're gonna go bowling next weekend, so that should be fun. So yeah, best committee ever. That's it. Any question? Yes. Vice President.
Sorry. Yeah, can you like elaborate on this part of your report out? I'm just a little confused and it sounds a little scary, so I just want to get some like further clarification.
Yep.
You said like another thing I'm working on is ways to limit making to become an RSO will be held in a higher standard. Also to police RSOs years forward to make sure the RSOs will not abuse the system so easily in the past. Can you talk about like what do you mean by that and like tangible steps you're doing to do that?
That's literally what I mean. I mean, if you want to learn more, go to the task force meeting. We'll make a presentation about that, about like pretty much every single step that I'm going to take to do that. But overall, though, I think that report kind of encapsulate what I want to say. Kind of. If you have any question, feel free.
When would be that task force meeting?
I think it's on Friday at 2:30.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay. Any question for Chair Raymond? No? Okay.
Just very quickly, if you're on my committee, can you just see me at the end of the meeting? Thank you. Very quickly, I'll be.
SGA advisor. GG. Advisors. Yeah, I think no pictures. I don't feel the love, still no picture, but it's all good. This will be quick. So I wanted to officially introduce you guys to Mr. J.D. De Loreto Hill, who is now your official advisor to the SGA. So please give him a round of applause. JD started 3 weeks ago here in SEL, and I was supposed to introduce him last week, but you know, there was like some 300-page presentation that was going on, so that did not happen. So sorry about that. But a little bit about doctor, because he is a doctor. De Loreto Hill he is a Massachusetts native. Did his undergraduate at UMass Boston, and then did his master's and PhD at University of Arkansas, all the way down on the other end. And then he got smart and he applied for a job and came to Massachusetts, and here he is. But the good thing about, all seriousness about JD is that, his dissertation was about, student governance, right? So he is a scholar of student governance. He's done this work. He's founded some groups around grad schools and all this other stuff. And we're very, very glad to have him on campus. I know some of you guys have, connected and interacted with him. I've been getting some really good reports on initial interactions. And I'll still be involved, as I told the leadership, until the end of May. So everything will still be copied to me and JD, but after that, then he's solo. So thank you, and please, be easy on him. After May, then you guys can go hard on him. Okay, you can take it. Want to say anything?
No, I just want to say it's really good to be here. That's all. As Maya can attest, my door is always open. My email's up there. Please reach out to me. I would love to get to know you guys individually. Like Sid said, I was an advisor for the University of Arkansas for 4 years. I was in the Graduate Professional Student Congress prior to that. Wrote my dissertation on student government. So needless to say, I really like this. I really love this organization. You guys do incredible work. So I'm looking forward to supporting you.
No questions. We got to get out of here. Thank you. All right. Does anyone now consider S79? Any motion to add Valentina Ramirez to the SG, sponsored by Chair Centeno, Attorney General Barbango, and the Administrative Affairs.
All right, I do apologize for being business not anticipated 48 hours prior. AA meets on Thursdays, and we had a snow day last Thursday, so we had to have an emergency meeting on Tuesday, so it didn't get in on time. But nonetheless, these are lovely new conduct advisors. They're filling in vacancies. They started over the winter, did their trainings, and
we confirmed, this is just to confirm their payroll. Any questions? They're starting this week, yeah. Any questions?
Second. Does there exist a need for debates? No indication of need for debate. Any questions on the passage of S79? All those in favor of passing the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. All those abstain, say no. Ayes have it. Motion passes. On to S80. Motion to add Kira Cook to the SGA payroll, sponsored by everyone I just mentioned.
Everything I said goes for the next two candidates.
Any questions? Is there a second?
Second.
Does there exist a need for debates? No indication of need for debate. Any questions on the passage of S80? Motion to add Kira Cook to the SGA payroll. All those in favor of passing the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. All those abstain, say abstain. Ayes have it, motion passes. I love Senator Evans' enthusiasm for that one. On to S81, motion to add Sarah Johnson to the SGA payroll. Same sponsorship, same background description. Questions? Second?
Second.
Does there exist a need for debate? No. No indication of need for debate. The question is on the passage of S81. All those in favor of passing the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. All those abstain, say the same. Ayes have it, motion passes. All right, let's stay locked in for just ending roll call, which I will be taking. Adeni absent. Anim.
Here.
Anim present. Areola.
Here.
Areola present. Bauman.
Here.
Bauman present. Beltrami. Here. Beltrami present. Black. Black absent. Borowski. Borowski present. Lopezova.
Here.
Lopezova present. Centenaro.
Here.
Centenaro present. Chamu.
Here.
Chamu present. Cook.
Here.
Cook present. DeMarco. DeMarco present. Tommy.
Here.
Tommy present. Duarte.
Here.
Duarte present. Dovetti. Dovetti present. Ize.
Here.
Ize present. Pachiso. Pachiso absent. Gatto. Here. Gatto present. Jermaine. Here. Jermaine present. Edwin Espinal.
Here.
Espinal present. Hernandani. Hernandani absent. Holohan. Holohan present. Ibrahim. Ibrahim absent. Imran. Imran present. Jermaine. Jermaine present. Kim of the class of 2028. Present. Kim present. Kim of the class of 2025. Kim present. Kumar. Kumar absent. Lakeway. Here. Lakeway present. Lay. Lay absent. Laforte. Present. Laforte present. Molesky. Molesky absent. Malari. Malari present. Manda. Manda absent. Lozando.
Here.
Lozando present. Mello.
Here.
Mello present. Nashi. Here. Nashi present. Evans. Here. Evans present. Wynn. Here. Wynn present. Onyeka.
Here.
Onyeka present. Pastorello. Pastorello absent. Patel. Patel absent. Patak. Patak absent. Fan. Fan present. Prabhakar. Prabhakar present. Raven. Raven absent. Brew. Here. Brew present. Sarna. Sarna absent. Sharma. Sharma absent. She. Here. She present. Stamen.
Here.
Stamen present. Silverio. Silverio present. Tamkin.